right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger, Dan Coccimilgio, Ryan Smith with you after Giants baseball. Giants and the Cubs this weekend at Oracle Park. Cubbies and Giants split the 4-game series. Giants winning today 4-0 behind Carlos Rodon. If that was his final start in a Giants uniform, he was spectacular. Struck out 10, walked nobody. Rodon looked really, really good. Giants get a 4-0 win over the Cubs. Cubs are not a good baseball team, but nevertheless, a win's a win for the Giants, and they'll take it any way they can get it. Happy Sunday to everybody. Giants officially retired Will Clark's number 22 at a ceremony Saturday night prior to the game. A couple other news and notes. According to multiple reports, Farhan Zaidi is now considering selling at Tuesday's MLB trade deadline. John Heyman reporting that from the New York Post on Saturday. The Giants are listening on Carlos Rodon. They're listening on Jock Peterson. Joel Sherman says
there's a little bit of audio going in the background.
Oh, there we go. ESPN, they're just relentless with their commercial audio. It was Joel Sherman who said that everybody except for Logan Webb is basically available. Tyro Estrada goes on the concussion injured list after he was hit in the head by a pitch from Mark Leiter Jr. In last night's game. He was able to leave the field under his own power. He spent a lot of time on the ground after the Giants medical staff evaluated him. The Giants then were in a pinch, right? Because Crawford's still hurt. They have no Estrada and they have no depth. So the Giants and Cubs made a trade today, and the Giants picked up Dixon Machado from the Cubs. The Giants did not have a backup shortstop on their roster. And so with Estrada going on the concussion list, they needed an infielder. And so they get Dixon Machado, who's a 30-year-old infielder. He's not played in the majors since 2018. Now, he was having a bust-out year. He was hitting .312 with a .402 on base and a couple home runs and 10 steals across 391 plate appearances at AAA. So they have a new shortstop. He played today. Thursday, Giants won 4-2 behind Alex Wood to break their 7-game slide. Friday, the Cubbies came back and won 4-2 behind a 3-run ninth inning. Giants' 8th loss in 9 games. Wilmer Flores hit a 2-run home run to make that game look closer than it was. Giants scored 5 last night to back Jacob Junis. Luis Gonzalez and Joey Bart went deep. And today they win 4-0 behind Rodon. 7 innings, struck out 10. It was his 21st start of the year, and 7 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts, 6 double strikeout game of the season for Rodon, whose fastball topped out at about 99. What did you guys think? What did you think of the weekend?
Hey, they won 2 in a row, 3 out of 4, which is what I said they needed to do before this series started, was at minimum win 3 of 4 to even consider not selling everything. Knowing Farhan, they'll probably do some kind of combo, sell some and buy some, and instead of tearing it all down, he'll try to fix maybe some of the pieces. But one of the things that just kind of shocks me, Larry, is that they had to go outside the organization to get a shortstop. And Farhan's been here 4 years, and you don't have a shortstop in the system that's
where's Izon Diaz? Isn't he a shortstop?
He's a second baseman, but he can play short. Not much. He's primarily a second baseman. But they traded. I saw the guy's name. I can't even remember it. Some pitcher who's like 30, who's got a high ERA at AAA with Sacramento.
Espinal, I believe his name.
Yeah, that's it. I don't understand how after 4 seasons you can't have a shortstop that's could come up for 4 games. Crawford is probably back Thursday. So you got to – what does that say about what their development has done? You don't
like the Wizard of Oz playing shortstop? Vosler?
Vosler?
Did you like that? I coined that today, the Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, I like that. So Vosler's
By the way,
not a
MF donates $49.99 to get the chat going in a big way. He says, I'm going to Giants A's this Saturday. Why is the Coliseum parking lot a mess to get in and out of? It seems worse than Dodger Stadium. Because it's like, you know what it is? It's like a gigantic sink with a tiny drain. That's basically it. It's a gigantic sink with a tiny drain. Have you seen how you get out? Everybody's got to basically go into like two possible lanes to get out of there. I mean, it's just the worst exit plan in the history of the world. The bigger question for Giants A's is this: why no Friday night game? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, just playing Saturday and Sunday, right?
I think it's just Saturday, Sunday.
I believe it is. Let me look at the schedule here. I got it right here.
Giants have an off night Friday night.
Yeah, that's right.
What's that?
5th of August, yep.
National Sewage Night at the Coliseum? And what do we got going there?
Yeah, what the heck?
So I'm just kind of shocked, though, that they don't have a player. I mean, I know Will Wilson is out with a hamate injury to his hand. And Donovan Walton.
But he's not a shortstop, right? Will Wilson's not a shortstop.
I think they have him he could play short. He plays short and second, but he can play short quite a bit. But Donovan Walton's on the IL. So where is the Giants draft choices that they've had for 4 years that's a shortstop? Because they had to DFA some pitcher they picked up earlier in the year. And I figured he might be getting DFA'd. I mean, that's kind of what they do. They pick these guys off the scrap metal, and then they DFA him after a while, and he'll probably clear waivers, and then they load up their farm club. Like I expect next when Casale comes up, Wins will get DFA'd, and they got Knapp down there at AAA, so they'll DFA Wins, open up a 40 roster spot for somebody, and then Wins will clear waivers, and he'll be back in Sacramento. And that's kind of how Farhan operates. It's kind of like, hey, I just keep collecting as much, what's that saying? Another man's trash is another man's treasure or something like that.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah, that's
what do you think? I mean, is the decision made? I mean, the Giants are 102 games into this season. There's 60 games left. They're 51-51. The wild cards in the National League are the Braves and the Padres and the Phillies. Cardinals are 1 game behind the Phillies. Giants are 4 games behind the Phillies for that third wild card spot. They're only 4 games ahead of the Marlins for the next spot in the standings, as far as so they're not in the playoffs right now, and they're exactly 500. We heard initially that they were going to buy, that they would not be sellers. They made that perfectly clear 10 days ago. I heard Jim Bowden saying, we can talk about anything we want to talk about. The Giants are not going to sell. That was like literally 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Saturday, here come the reports. You know what? Farhan's going to sell. Farhan's going to at least listen to selling. He's listening on Rodon, and the Cardinals want him. He's listening on Peterson, and the Dodgers and Braves want him, and the Yankees may want Rodon. And today there was a lot of talk during the broadcast about what a guy like Rodon would even fetch. And obviously he had a tremendous outing. I mean, if Carlos Rodon wanted out, and somebody said to him, hey, Carlos, if you really want out, just deal. Because, if we can get a good price for you, we'll move you. And if you deal, we'll get a good price for you. Well, then today was that good. Today he was dealing 7 innings, 2 hits, no walks, struck out 10. He was incredible today. If you watch that and you need a lefty to anchor the top of your rotation, and you're a playoff team with realistic aspirations of winning playoff series, why wouldn't you pay big dollars or big prospects for Carlos Rodon, right?
Yeah, well, I've heard St. Louis is a potential landing spot, and
get Jordan Walker. I mean, they've got a gigantic third baseman that they drafted in the first round. I think a year ago or 2 years ago. His name's Jordan Walker.
Yeah, he's their top
prospect. Big right-handed power hitting third baseman. He is a difference-making kind of prospect. If you could get Jordan Walker, I think I would do it. I don't know if you could, because Rodon's somewhat of a rental. He can opt out at the end of the year if he wants. But man, if you could get a prospect like Jordan Walker from St. Louis, that to me, that's the guy. If you're dealing with the Dodgers, I don't mind trading the Dodgers, Peterson and Rosenthal and helping them win. But I want Miguel Vargas. I want Trace Thompson and Miguel Vargas. I want, give me somebody I can, replace Jock with today, and then give me a prospect that can be in my lineup for the next 5 or 6 years. And Miguel Vargas, who can play first, second, third, and he can really hit. This guy won the batting title in Double A year ago. I don't know what he is defensively, but man, he can hit. You give me Trace Thompson and Miguel Vargas, I'll give you Jock Peterson. What do you think, Danny?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and the thing is sad is they could have had trade Thompson for nothing, just cash, which the Giants are loaded of. I mean,
let's get these people in real quick. Frisco Willie donates $9.99. He says, hire Will the Thrill as manager. He'll change the culture. He'll change the attitude immediately. After the speech, I was ready to go to battle for that guy. The players will love him. Hey, guys, I threw it out last week. Will would be my manager. Vogie would be my pitching coach. Wotus would be in the third base coaching box. I would do it. Jimmy Mollet donates $20. He says, Giants win. Niners win. Nice cap to the weekend. Well, I don't know if the Niners win, but the Niners definitely get Debo signed, and the Giants won. So big day for the Bay Area for sure. And then MF donates $9.99. He says, listen to Marty Lurie pregame this weekend made me irritated. He thinks the Giants are a playoff team. Wish the Krueg show did pregame so I don't have to listen to this tomfoolery. All right, MF, let me just say this. Marty is a friend of mine. All right. So you're making no headway with me, or I'm not liking when you're criticizing Marty. I don't like it. So, I love you, MF, and I appreciate the donations, and you're more than entitled to say anything you want to say, but just know that Marty is a friend of mine. And we go way, way back, and it bothers him when you criticize him, and so don't. If you can do me a solid, leave Marty alone. Let's leave Marty alone. I mean, not that Marty, if you want to disagree with Marty on point, disagree with him, but don't rip his show or say he's this or that or boring or whatever. Just don't. Because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I don't want to hear from him about you. I don't want to hear any complaints. I don't want to hear anything. So I love Marty. We go way back. If you're just being kind of jocular, I rip Dan all the time, and I love Dan. I rip Rye all the time. I love Rye. I rip my friends all the time, and I love my friends. But since I don't know you that well, and I just don't want you ripping Marty, so please just don't rip Marty anymore, because there's just no reason for it. Todd McLean, though, has become a YouTube member. Todd, welcome aboard, my friend. Thanks for being a YouTube member. We're very happy to have you as a YouTube member. Couple others in here. We've got it wouldn't be a post game unless we had an FU Farhan. There we go. Michael Garcia. We're officially off and running. Todd McLean. I love how uncomfortable you guys are when you are asking for money, but you have to do it, right? We live in the Bay. It's expensive. We as listeners understand and pay for a great show. Keep it up. Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's why Dan's here. We let Dan ask for money. We don't, Ryan and I are above asking for money. Yeah. Danny could, hey guys, we're passing the hat. We're passing the hat. We're like, somebody asked me about this the other day. Somebody's like, dude, I watch your live stream and it's just nothing but people donating cash and this and that. What's going on? What would you even describe this as? And I said, I don't know. It's almost like, we're that guy on the corner who's like the mechanical guy. And then all of a sudden, we have the hat at Pier 39. And then people are like, hey, that guy's kind of talented. And they kind of throw some money in there. Or that guy.
You guys want me to play the drums in the background for some money like they do on when you're walking out of the Giants game? Some guy's sitting there.
I just don't want to see you incur charges at your rental there, banging on somebody's drums. And then suddenly you weren't supposed to be banging. And
they're there for taking. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, go ahead. Bang away.
Let me
bang
see
away.
how it sounds.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what it sounds. Realmoney.com on the web's going to bang away. Look at Danny.
Oh, God. Oh.
Can you get any kind of a rhythm going?
How'd it sound?
How about like the Atlanta Braves? Can you go?
Hey, wait, how's that chant go? Let's see if I can get that. I can change the mic setting too.
See if you can get that going.
MF, I'll stop tweeting at Marty. Don't want any beef with anyone. Love this show and everyone in the chat. You know what, MF?
Yeah, that's what I love about MF. I knew that he would understand and take it in the right way. And I always tell everybody, I always tell my kids this, and I tell Rye this too a lot. Hey, you know what? We just need to communicate how we feel. You know what I mean? As people, seriously. MF. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. That, you know what though? I'll tell you. No rhythm. You know what one of my favorite things to do is play ping pong.
Oh, I know.
Hey, there it is.
Being that table,
I love ping pong.
I love ping pong too.
My parents had a ping pong table in our garage, and dude, me and my brother played for hours and hours. And I had all kinds of spin, and I got English, and just.
Ooh, you're one of those guys that does the spin move, huh?
Yeah. How about, have you guys seen the Olympic? The Olympic ping pong is just redunculous. I mean, those guys are just.
Oh my God!
They're like a $5 cab ride away from the table. They're so far back, and they're just smoking it, and it's just like, my God, it doesn't look fun. It looks stressful. It does not look fun.
I feel like honestly, if this was Dan's house and he was in, let's say, Pleasant Hill, close enough to us, I feel like people would probably, if
we'd all go over there.
If one of us was talking, I think we could probably do a whole just live stream, just a general live stream where people are just watching us play ping pong. One of us is commenting. It would be fun to watch. That would
be really cool. There's a really cool pool hall / ping pong hall in Walnut Creek. It would be really cool to do post game while we were playing pool or ping pong.
I know. I love do it. When I see the ping pong table, it's like when you somebody has a football, I immediately just want someone, I want to pick it up, I want to throw it. I want to play ping pong now. And honestly, Dan, maybe you do a live stream if we're taking off one of these nights and you're still over there. Maybe you do a live stream of you playing beer pong versus yourself.
Yeah. Oh, beer pong.
I got a buddy coming up here in a couple weekends, and he's gonna. We'll play ping pong together. He's been.
Now, let me ask you guys this: Do you hold your paddle with the like this, or do you get the paddle underneath and do one of these kinds of? Do you hold the paddle underneath your hand, or do you like to hold it, up top, and you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Danny, bring that over. Bring the paddle over. Let's take a look at the paddle. By the way, MF does donate $4.99. He says, I'll stop tweeting at Marty. I don't want any beef with anyone. I love this show and everyone in the chat.
We love you too, MF. You know what? If you want to rip on people and you want us to join in, maybe aim higher. And maybe
don't pick my friends. Right? I don't mind ripping people. Let's just rip people we don't like instead of ripping people that we like.
Making millions of dollars every year. Those guys like Nick, right?
And I don't want Marty to think that we're sitting here trying to stir up something anti-Marty. I'm a huge Marty fan. I consider Marty one of my very, very closest friends. So I definitely don't want Marty to be upset. And you know what? MF, I'll be totally honest with you. You're awesome, but you have an aggressive tone. And there was a couple of times before initially that I was like, I don't know if MF is a friend or a foe. You know what I mean? I don't know if he likes us or if he's like mad at us or what, because you got like an edginess to you. If you're the Larry Krueger of texters. You got a little edge. Not everybody always knows where I'm coming from. Sometimes I don't know where MF is coming from, but doesn't mean I don't like you. I like you, and I liked you before you donated. I thought there was some magic there, but definitely you bring an edge. I don't mind the edge. Like, I'm the kind of guy you could actually say, yeah, Krug, you're fucked up, and this is why you're fucked up. And then you know what? I would still be like, you know what? I like you, even though you're calling me fucked up. But there's other people who are like, hey, if you call them fucked up, they're like, hey, you know what? Fuck you. So, and I do understand both mindsets. So I just want you to know that if you want to tell me in the chat I'm fucked up, go for it all day. Just let's not tell Marty he's fucked up, because Marty's a good guy. MF donates $19.99. Says Gary Radnich posting a touching tribute to Bill Russell on Twitter. Didn't know he interviewed Bill back in the day. I didn't see that either.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, pull that up. G-Red. Let's talk about Russell too.
Because did you guys know that USF was the only college that offered Bill Russell a scholarship?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know that in the 80s, but I knew that in the last 10 years.
That's ridiculous.
My dad went to USF. My brother went to USF. So there's always been a lot of pride in the fact that, Russell went to USF in my family. And then just learning, so many, you watch videos, not just about basketball, but videos about the integration of America as far as sports is concerned. Russell was right there, and he was a force. But he was a positive force, and just to me, there's a couple things about Russell that just really stand out. One, Red's unbelievable ability to wheel and deal and land Russell.
Oh yeah.
The fact of the matter is he knew the pressure points. It was like the Atlanta Hawks. They had the first pick, but they needed the ice capades. And so, he got them the ice capades, and then they passed on Russell. And then, St. Louis Hawks, he trades the center McCauley to the Hawks because, obviously Russell, there was a lot of racial discord in St. Louis, especially at that time. And so,
even more than Boston.
The Hawks were willing to make a trade and pick up McCauley and give Russell, it was Ed McCauley for Bill Russell. So I believe the Celtics had like the 5th pick or something. It was not like they had the second.
I think they had the 3rd pick.
Was it the 3rd pick? I thought it was a 4th or 5th pick.
Maybe it was. I thought it was.
Look that up. Look it up. It was the 1956 NBA draft.
Russell, though, the guy just did nothing but win. He wins 2 championships, national championships at USF, and then goes on and wins 11 in Boston. I mean, he was just a first-class winner. And the guy could have done more for Boston on the court, but he deferred a lot because he concentrated on defense and rebounding. He could have been a great scorer.
It's funny. People don't, you think of Showtime Lakers going against the Celtics, but it was Auerbach and Russell. It was the impact of Russell and the brilliance of Auerbach. The Celtics were really the first fast break team, and it was Russell getting the board, getting it out on the break to Kuzi, and they ran. And you think about what this guy was, just an incredible player, 5-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, ultimate winner, the greatest champion maybe ever in American team sports. I mean, the guy, 13 years in Boston, they went to the finals 12 times. They won it 11. So, I mean, he's the ultimate winner. A lot of times people, have debated openly, where does he sit among the greatest players who ever played? And, that is somewhat debatable. I don't know exactly, you'd have to talk to the old timers exactly where he won in all those head-to-head matchups for the most part with Chamberlain. But as far as where did he rank with the greatest players of all time? it's hard to say. Now, I would say an interesting list that I read, Jack McCallum, who's wrote for Sports Illustrated forever, in February of 2016, he came up. It was the 20th anniversary of the 50 greatest players in the NBA article, and he revised his list in February of 2016. And in his list, and this is Jack McCallum, who knows a ton about the history of the NBA, and just a guy that I think most people defer to in a lot of these debates. He says that the greatest player in the NBA of all time is Michael Jordan, and that number 2 is Kareem, and that number 3 was Wilt, and then Magic was 4. LeBron was 5, Oscar Robertson was 6, Bird was 7, and he's got Russell at 8. So, I mean, and then on that list, he's got Jerry West at 9, Tim Duncan at 10, but he's got 2 centers in front of Russell. He's got Wilt and Kareem in front of Russell. And he says, I know Russell would disagree with this, but this is how I'm ranking him. So everybody's got their different rankings. He was one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the game. He told those other 5 great players that were gathered for the 75th anniversary, I would have kicked all your asses. I mean, that made me laugh. Just a great player. GTC Reels donates $4.99. He says, I put the bat signal out to Gary and tagged you. Hope he comes on and tell him he doesn't have to be camera ready. He's no Kylan Mills. That's great. That's great. Yeah, we'd love to have Gary on. Todd McLean says, now that I'm a member, do I get to mute Dan once a month? Todd, would you like to mute Dan? Well, why don't we do this? We'll just mute Dan just for the hell of it, just because Todd would like to be. Dan, once again, Dan, what do you think of Russell? See, Danny can't talk because he's been muted because Todd McLean said he wanted to mute him, and that was enough for me.
I struggle with, as a guy who obviously I wasn't able to see all of this, I have a tough time with Russell because, as far as I'm concerned, everybody that, when I've read like NBA history books, for the most part, it seems like the guys in that era all would go Russell over Wilt. Despite obviously Wilt being a freak and the numbers he was putting up, just, Russell always elevated in the playoffs and Wilt sometimes withered. But, it's just tough because like there was 12 teams in the league. And I mean, it just seems like it's almost like I mean, I don't know. When would you officially say that like modern basketball started? Because I don't know if it's hard.
It is funny because like if you say somebody says, hey, Jordan versus LeBron, immediately it gets into rings.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you say, wait a second, Jordan's the greatest. He's got the rings. And then you say, well, wait a second, is Bill Russell's got the rings? And then people generally will push back and be like, well, see, that's the one thing about America. And I in 2022, I don't necessarily put myself in this category, but there's a lot of people that, not that, Russell was pre-TV. It's on TV, but it's black and white instead of color. It's not high def. It's grainy video. And, it was one thing like when there wasn't video, but I always felt like if there was video that your greatness would kind of carry forward. But now here we go, and we're in the high definition color TV era. And it's like, we can see Russell. We can see everything, the timing on his shot blocking, the incredible defender that he was, the incredible outlet passer, the winner, the incredible basketball intellect that he played with, how smart the Celtics were as a team, how disciplined they were. You can see, the greatness of the Celtics and Russell. But because he played in an era where the league jumped from, whatever number of teams it was. I mean, I think it was 12. Yeah. I mean, I think when he came into the league, there was like, 8 teams or something. And then by the end, but I mean, there were a whole lot more. So this was like an evolution of the league. And because this is a guy who, I think everybody who knows basketball would agree. Bill Russell revolutionized the game as a 6'9", 6'10" center who had incredible reflexes and shot blocking ability and unbelievable defensive maneuvers, and triggered one of the great fast break offenses into a full-fledged dynasty. But it's like when you go to talk about rings, nobody puts him in front of Jordan, despite the fact that he's got all the rings. He's the greatest winner.
Yeah.
And why is that?
The way I've always felt about it is with these kind of conversations is just, people drive themselves crazy with the hypotheticals of putting this player in today's, and it's like, we can't do that. The only thing we can do is just who dominated their respective era. Like it is almost like a percentage thing. It's like, how much did Bill Russell dominate his era compared to how much Michael Jordan dominated his era? Well, you have to say, I think Bill Russell, he has to be, I have no problem if you say he's a top 5 player of all time, if you say he's top 10, whatever. But the thing is, it's just tough because, think about even being in a fantasy football league, right? If you're in a fantasy football league and you're playing an 8-team league, that league is a joke because every team is way too stacked. Once you go to 10, the teams are still too stacked, and you get to 12 and it's about the right amount. And it's like if there's only 8 teams in the league for a majority of his career, and then towards the end 12, I just have to value, Jordan getting six in a row when there was 30 teams. It just has to mean it has to mean a little bit more. Also with how back then it was there was just teams were really ridiculously stupid and cheap. And they got Tommy Heinsohn also that year. They got Tommy Heinsohn with the regional pick or whatever that was, where they were allowed to just pick a player from the region and forfeit and get the number 1 overall pick. And it just, I don't know. It was tough. It's tough. It's tough to be back.
Well, it's hard to break down how much was Russell and how much was the Celtics in that era. Yeah. The Celtics, when Russell came into the league, there were 8 teams. When he left the league, there were 14 teams. So there was a growth, definitely. But then, he was a special player. Then he also won 2 more titles as a player coach. He got his 11th title in '69. He was 35 and then retired. Obviously, the head-to-head with Chamberlain has been a big subplot of his career. 8 playoff series between Russell and Chamberlain. The Celtics and Russell won 7 of the 8. In fact, Russell's got 11 championship rings. Chamberlain's got 2. So, and it was funny, who was it? The Greek mythology person that Jack McCallum compared Jerry West to, Sisyphus, I believe, who kept pushing the rock up the hill only to see it, the boulder roll down and crush him. And that was kind of the Lakers and the Celtics all those years in the finals. West would push that rock up the hill, and then suddenly the Celtics would come alive and win at the end. So it's obviously, I'll tell you the thing that really struck me was 2 things struck me about Russell. One was Reds engineering to get him, and how that could never be done today. And how, it really, if you want to know how racist America was in the 50s, all you need to know is that, Red Auerbach was able to engineer drafting Bill Russell when he was far and away the best player in the draft, partly because, Bill Russell, there were cities that weren't ready for the black superstar athlete at that point in history. So that's one thing that kind of reveals, kind of the one of the ugly attributes of America. The other thing I thought was interesting is that Bill Russell was such a winner. And you would think that when you see players win in a city, that's all love. It's all like, oh, we love that player. And then they win more and I love them more. And they love him. Look at the way Boston feels about Tom Brady. Look at the way Los Angeles feels about Kobe Bryant. Look at the way San Francisco feels about Buster Posey. Look at the way San Francisco and the Bay Area overall feels about Steph Curry. And then you think of 1972, and Russell's number 6 is getting retired. And guess how many people were at the big retirement of Russell's number? None.
0.
None, because he did it in a pregame deal because he didn't want to celebrate with the fans of Boston. The same fans that witnessed all the greatness, that witnessed all the winning. He didn't want to celebrate his partially he didn't want to celebrate his retirement of his number at all, but he really didn't want to do it in front of the fans because people had done horrendous things to Bill Russell. He had his house broken into, and people wrote, terrible racial hate in crap, in human feces on his walls and put it there. And so is there anything more disgusting and more unwelcoming than that? So I just think it was so interesting and so notable. And we think of racism as something that was, that was so far away. I mean, I know there are people that really believe that there's tremendous racism to this day, and I'm sure there's countless examples of it. But like people think about, it was really only so terrible way, 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 way back. 1972. We're talking about the 70s, talking about in my lifetime, in Dan's lifetime, people were breaking into Bill Russell's home in Boston and writing terrible racial threats on his walls in human feces. What
they also, I was in Boston.
What the hell's that? I mean,
I was in Boston.
His statement on Boston is just
disgusting.
It's just that's something that Boston has to live with forever. I mean, the greatest player, one of the greatest players of all time, had his number retired with no fans there because of the experience that he had with many of the fans and the people who lived in New England. I mean, that's just so unbelievable. And I hope people remember that. I hope that note gets discussed a lot.
It's too bad he couldn't have played for the San Francisco Warriors at the time, when in the day, being at USF, and that would have been tremendous. But,
I mean, it's not like racism didn't find its way here. I mean, Curt Flood was trying to buy a house in Alamo in the 70s, and ran into, the person who was selling him the house found out he was African American, and then all of a sudden it was like all hell broke loose. Yeah. And Curt Flood had to be like, hey, I just want to buy, I can afford this house in Alamo. I want to live here in Alamo, and not feel, and Curt had to stand up to that. I mean, I saw the footage of that. And that's right here in the Bay Area and the East Bay. I mean, I live in Walnut Creek. That's right there. That's 2 stops away, and that's not 10 decades ago. That was in our lifetime. Just some sick things. Dustin the Gale donates $4.99. How do you guys feel about the way Friday Night Baseball is covered? Drone footage, different camera angles, more casual announcers, maybe the way of the future. Did you guys watch that, by the way, Friday night on was it Apple Plus? Is that what it was?
Yeah. I mean, it was I liked some of the camera angles. Some of the camera angles were kind of cool from the sky. It just made the ballpark even look more beautiful than you actually see it from the ground level. It just was it was kind of cool with the water.
It was a rough game. It was a rough game, but I like the coverage.
I agree. Also, one more thing on Bill Russell. What's crazy to me is I was in Boston. Only time I've ever been in Boston. I wanted to go see the Bill Russell statue. I wanted to see like that kind of stuff. I thought it was really cool. I went to the stadium, or I was walking outside the stadium. I could not find a Bill Russell statue. I looked it up online. He didn't have a statue until 2013 in Boston, and it's like tucked away, like away from the stadium. It's weird, man.
It's so ridiculous. He brought more notoriety to that franchise with 11 titles and everything he did, and yet it's gonna be a Bird and Havlicek, and it's just the way that
Tommy Hudson
town is. It's just,
they had not. I mean, here's another thing. They had 9 Hall of Famers on their 62-63 team, which is the most ever. And it's like you think about the way people nowadays, a lot of people, sports fans that watch sports, if you met them in the street and you started talking about like the Warriors with Durant, they'd be like, "Oh, come on, like those don't really count as real rings." And it's like, okay, they did that in a league with 32 teams, and then it's mostly homegrown with the but and there was a time when there was 8 teams in the league and they had 9 Hall of Famers. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of chatter in the chat room about the Giants. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Rodon and trades and what
Justin Kerwin says Rodon is either traded Tuesday or walks and gets a 5-year deal. No way he stays on this pony show team.
Oh, let's go back here for a second.
I think
something.
Okay. MF donates $9.99. He says Jason Vosler having good at bats this year. His defense might not be good, but I've been liking his at bats. I don't know. You know what? Vosler had a hat on the other day that I thought was like one of those hats that has like the Kevlar around. Did you see how big his hat was the other night?
No.
It looked like it made his head look real skinny.
Yeah, I mean, you know how silly that looks when your baseball hat is loose.
Yeah.
A loose baseball hat looks like where your ears get hidden underneath the hat.
What the hell is up with
that? Who wants Danny? Can you tuck your ears in the hat so we can kind of take a look at what we're talking about here?
And then also, Dan, as a hat man,
tuck those ears in. Now, this is a terrible look.
That's a terrible look.
That is a terrible look.
Like you're wearing a beanie.
I mean, that is an awful look.
You made me stretch out my hat.
You don't want your ears tucked in. Ears tucked is maybe the worst look there is.
Yeah. The MLB, I feel like it's a crapshoot for me. Even if I get one from the official Giants team store, I feel like it's always a little bit wide or a little bit.
Hey, Paul Bactiel has become a YouTube member.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Paul. Glad to have you, buddy.
Paul, I think that might be our first Paul member. Ooh. I don't know if we have any Paul in the
Lou Marston, who's a member, says Giants have no one besides Carlos Rodon that anyone wants. Also, please talk about the Giants with 22 players left on base against the Cubs. Enough said. We got lucky to score 4 today. Come on. Yeah, the Giants' situational hitting in the last couple of days has been terrible.
Yeah.
Heck, Lou, I'll say this, though. What do you want more? You want 2 hits and one, and they were both singles, or do you want a bunch of guys left on base? I almost like to see the action just with guys on base, just because the alternative – but yeah, the situational hitting's been terrible. As far as no one besides Rodon, I bet you could get Houston to take Brandon Belt. I bet you could get the Dodgers to take Jock Peterson.
Oh, you could get the Braves to take Jock. You can. Flores would be good for a contending team. Let's see.
I think the A's probably are going to make some moves. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Giants and A's hooked up on a trade. I could definitely see Sean Murphy here. I could definitely see Laureano here. I think those guys make sense. Think about the A's. The A's have that Langoliers coming from the Braves trade in the Matt Olson deal. The A's 2 top prospects are both catchers. Sean Murphy's going to get dealt. Sean Murphy's a good major league catcher. Now, he's not a superstar, but you got Austin Wynns. And I'll say this: if you had Joey Bart, like if you could make a trade involving Bailey and some other prospects and somehow get Laureano and Sean Murphy, I would feel real comfortable going forward next year with a combo of Bart and Sean Murphy. I would.
Let's give it up for Joey Bart last night.
How about the rocket he hit the left, huh?
116 miles per hour on.
Sheesh.
And him and Will have the one thing they share together. They share the highest draft pick ever for the Giants. Will Clark was number 2 pick in the entire draft. So was Joey Bart. Will worked with Joey Bart when he got sent down, and Joey hits just a rocket. I mean, that thing went out so fast. That guy has a lot of power. If he can hone in his swing and really, I don't care if he hits, if he strikes out 35% of the time, if he hits 40 homers a year.
Yeah.
What's the lowest average? What's the lowest average you think Bart could have and be an everyday guy with that kind of power? Because you know what? There's a couple areas that I really love about Bart. One, he's competitive as hell.
Yep.
And I think it's starting to come out. I like that. I like that he's competitive. 2, I think he works at his craft behind the plate. He's a phenomenal catch and throw guy, and I see improvement all the time. So there's that. And then he's got crazy power. I mean, he's got 80 power on the scale, top of the scale kind of power. What's the lowest average he could hit that you could say, you know what, you could live with that?
180.
180?
Yeah.
Really?
210.
I was going to say like 220.
If he hit 180 and had 40 homers, I'd be down.
I'll tell you what, my prediction.
180. I don't know about that.
I think my prediction that I made before when he got sent down is going to come true. I said he's going to hit 200 and hit 10 homers. He's now
Nick Chase is 225 to 230 if he can hit 30 bombs.
He's now got 7 homers and he's at 186. So I think,
but 186, anything sub 200,
it's going to climb. It'll go over 200.
Could you guys really be okay with sub 200?
I mean,
no, I think.
Would you take if Joey Bart is as good defensively as we think he is? Would you take Joey Gallo hitting behind the plate? Because Joey Gallo, even the year when he smashed 38 home runs, was hitting 190. These are Joey Gallo's averages. 181 in 2020, 199 in 2021 with 38 bombs. Then he hit 223 with 25 bombs. Last year, he hit 160. This year, he's hitting 159. I mean, I'd take it. If he's hitting 180 with 40 home runs, that's fine.
It has to do with on-base percentage, too. If you got to have an OBP of at least, you should be getting on base at least 300, 30% of the time.
Oh, I was going to say it's higher than that. 325, something like that would be nice.
Well, I mean, I think the average is
365 is a good on base. Anything over,
I don't know what the actual average is, but a lot of the Giants seem to have a low 300, below 300. A lot of their guys, but I will say this: I think Joey, when he gets to understand major league hitting, and the shift goes away, which it's going to go away, you're going to see Joey Bart hit 230 to 250 and hit 30 plus home runs a year.
If he gets to 230 and he can give you 30, 35 bombs, man, I'd take that.
That's a good heck yeah.
Anonymous says, again, Bart now is an above average defender who will get better. Offensively, he has 7 home runs now, which extrapolates out for a full season of 32 over the full year. The Giants need to let him play every day, period. That's Anonymous weighing in with that one. My buddy Lou Marston says Bart hitting 180 would be like Mark Hill. Mark Hill, Rye's giving us that blank look. Mark Hill was the Giants catcher. Think about this. Now you see guys when they get on base, they wear the pot holder. Have you guys ever seen the pot holder glove that they wear to protect their fingers? Mark Hill didn't even wear a helmet behind his catcher's mask. It was a catcher's mask and his hat. How about that for a look?
What?
He wore the catcher's mask and his baseball hat backwards.
What the hell? So
anything off the head was just off the head. Unbelievable. Yeah. MF donates $5. Larry's right about pumping brakes on Vaughn Brown. So many Giants prospects don't do well past a high A ball. Let's get MLB ready players and trades this week. That'll be my thing. Is like, you know what? I really think about, building through the minors. And think about it, guys. I mean, the amateur draft is such a crapshoot because you have no idea, guys. There's going to be. I mean, somebody said it the other day during the coverage. Yeah, we hear about this guy's like Ruth, and this guy's got power like Aaron and speed like Mays, and then you just never hear these guys ever again. Never to be heard from again. This guy's got Roger Clemens like fastball, and he's got a Kevin Brown slider, and he's got a Randy Johnson type slider. I mean, never to be heard from again. Or they just disappear in the minors. So what does that tell you? It tells you that there's a huge gap between amateurs entering pro ball out of high school or college and the majors. So if you're going to really build through the draft, you're going to have to deal with a huge failure rate. But if you don't deal with through the draft, then nobody really becomes a free agent under the current rules of baseball unless they make it to the majors at like 18 or 19. Most guys are not free agents till they're about 30. So if you're going to live in the free agent market, you're going to consistently have the oldest team in all of baseball. So that's not viable. And it's not really viable to go through the draft unless you're really handicapping it consistently well. So to me, what's the alternative? The alternative is go make strategic trades and signings of players that you think you can then trade in July, and see if you can find players in double or triple A, guys who are on the verge of the big leagues, and trade for those guys. Now, I read yesterday that the Twins are one of the teams that almost outbid the Giants for Carlos Rodon this offseason. Well, the Twins have an outfielder in their system, a right fielder. I saw him in the Futures game.
He hit that home run off
of Kyle Harrison down the right field line at Dodger Stadium. His name is Matt Wallner, and he's 6'5", 6'6", and he just has ridiculous left-handed power.
He was a bomber at Mississippi State, I believe.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a left-handed version of Pete Alonso. Right, for the Mets. Yeah. He's just this monster guy with ridiculous bat speed and power. And the Twins mostly they still want Carlos Rodon. Why not trade a guy like Carlos Rodon and get a right field prospect like this Matt Wallner?
Yeah,
you know why? Because
he's
right there. He's on the verge of the big leagues. You don't have to worry about A-ball and how does he go from A-ball to double A. This guy's already established in double A. So I like the idea of maybe, using the offseason to sign guys that you like, but also can be flipped in the following July. Absolutely. At the trade deadline, and then targeting other teams' prospects in double and triple A, and then do that for 2 or 3 years. And then I think you're going to accelerate your rebuild, and you're going to find that your hit rate is going to be higher in these trades, considerably higher than it is by handicapping the draft. Why? Because in the draft, you're taking a guy out of Fullerton State and you're crossing your fingers. In these trades, you're getting a guy who generally has already had success at double A.
Oh, absolutely. We got a guy in the chat. I've noticed him in here, Robert Rothberg. He says quite a bit. He's pretty optimistic, and he's a buy guy, not sell. On the Giants. And I earlier in the chat room while you guys were on with the 49ers, I tweeted over or posted it in the chat over there. I said, hey, Robert, I love your optimism. And Robert, I know you're listening now. We love your optimism. But this Giants team, as it's currently constructed, is not going to make the playoffs. It has
Robert says, forget prospects. Giants need to buy this year and win it all. I mean,
is that what he just said?
Do we really think? I mean, here's the thing. I always like realistic, right? That's why when people make unrealistic things, I'm like, sounds a little unrealistic. Is it realistic to think that Farhan could trade the Giants into a situation this year where they would be good enough to make the playoffs and contend for a World Series? I don't think so.
I don't see it. I don't see it
either.
I mean,
you don't have the horses to trade to get those guys.
They can make the playoffs, but they're not winning the World Series. Also,
can they make the playoffs? Can they realistically?
Well, if they trade with St. Louis,
can they make the playoffs? I mean, they're 4 games behind the Phillies with the Cardinals in between them. Can they outrun? Can the Giants, playing an unbalanced schedule in the National League West that has the Padres and the Dodgers and a Diamondback team that seems to own the Giants, can the Giants, with an unbalanced schedule playing in the NL West, be 5 games clear of both the Phillies and the Cardinals the rest of the way in the final? What do we say they're at? There's 60 games left. Can they win? Can they make it back? I mean, 5 games against those 2 clubs in the next 60 games. I think that seems like a crazy idea. There's no chance of that.
It's going to be difficult, especially if they deal with St. Louis is going to improve their team one way or the other, whether they do it with Rodon or if they are getting Soto. St. Louis is not going to sit idle. So you're going to have to. Even if you jump to Philadelphia, I don't think you can jump St. Louis after Tuesday, whatever they come up with, because I believe they're coming up with some big deals to win. Because remember, St. Louis has Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Adam Wainwright, who's retiring, Yadi Molina's retiring, Pujols is retiring. They're going to try and go out and win it all. And I don't think you're going to get past St. Louis. So that means you're going to have to get past Philadelphia and maybe San Diego. That's going to be tough.
No, that's not happening. MF donates $10 here. He says Trace Thompson's raking with the Dodgers. Why does anyone the Dodgers get turn into gold? Examples include Yency Almonte, Tyler Anderson, Chris Taylor, Max Muncy. I think you got to give it to LA. I think they target good guys in the draft, but I think it's well beyond that. I think they got a guy named Gasparino in their system that's really an excellent farm director. They develop their guys. And then they also have good major league coaches. How about the guy who's the young outfielder Outman? Went 3 for 4 today for LA. Yeah. Just another guy. They got all kinds of guys.
I think it's not much it takes a lot of pressure off when you go to the Dodgers, because it's like you don't have to carry the team, or like if you're
coming to the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just gotta
play your role. Just play your role. Yeah. Romo 2001's got one here. He says, he's talking about Robert Rothberg. Who do the Giants need to buy to win it all? Yeah, I'd like to know. It's one okay, but I don't mind the optimist, and I'm not going to sit there and be like, you're high as a kite. You have no idea what you're talking about. I want to have a discussion, but I'd like to know a little bit more specifics. I mean, at this point, if I'm going to be negative, I feel like I need to back it up with something, either, some idea of what I think they ought to do or some exact reason why I'm being negative. But on the flip side, I would challenge anybody who's like these pie in the sky, positive penny people who are just like, hey, you know what? They can still do it. Okay, great. That's great. Lay it out for me. Don't just state it. Anybody can state it. Can you state it and support it? Anybody can have an opinion. Can you support your opinion? Robert believes the Giants need to buy and that they can win it all. So I'd like to hear him say who they need to buy and why he thinks they can buy those players and why those players would enable them to win it all, or what players he envisions them buying that can help them win it all. I'd like to know that, because what I'm seeing is 2/5 of a rotation, a very inconsistent pen, a very below average defensive team, and a team that really struggles to score runs.
Yeah, and very slow and
very old.
Defensively, they're poor. Grant Brisbee had an article today in The Athletic about what the Giants could do.
I heard him interviewed today. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he suggested that, looked at all the positions and he said, okay, they're not going to change shortstop. They're not going to change. So he basically boiled it down to center field, that the Giants need to concentrate on a solid defensive center fielder and move Slater to a corner,
like Duggar, like Steven Duggar,
or and he even mentioned Dubon, who was there as a center fielder prior, as their best defensive center fielder. But if the Giants were to do that, he's suggesting they prioritize, which I have been saying for weeks, and I think all of us have, prioritize defense over the platoon. Stop trying to put offensive linemen out in left field. Ruff and Hermine Mercedes.
You're mean.
Yeah, stop putting those guys out there.
Prioritize defense a little bit. I mean, they traded Duggar for Willie Calhoun. That was kind of the first mistake, because Willie Calhoun can't play a stitch of D, and he's about 25 pounds overweight. And they got rid of their best defensive center fielder, and they're playing this kind of pudgy offensive player in the minors. So what does that tell you about how they feel about defense?
Thing Grant said was, let the DH, let a guy who's a DH be your DH and let the defensive guys play defense, because you're sticking guys that are DHs out in the outfield.
Look at MF donating $50. He says trade Brebbia and Leone. And AJ Pierzynski, that's not Leone. That's Leone.
Yeah.
Trade Brebbia and Leon.
I mean, do you guys honestly, even if they just kept
him $50 for Brebbia and Leon?
And he went full 50, not even the 49.99.
He didn't
exactly.
go
That's 25. Is that 25 on Brebbia and 25 on Leon, or is that more like 30 on Leon and 20 on
I
Brebbia?
wonder if St. Louis would take Brebbia back because he excelled there. Now he's having a good year again, and they have a great bullpen. I wonder if if you could get to the 5th inning in the playoffs, and if you have 5 guys that can pitch an inning, because in the playoffs and World Series, you have a lot of your starters sometimes only go 4 innings, just because of matchups and pitch counts and whatever. But I
Lou
think
Marson says we play the Dodgers the next 4 games. If Logan Webb loses, we will get swept with our powerful lineup. I'm sensing sarcasm there. We need to sell. I got a buddy
going tomorrow, right?
I got a buddy, Danny, who got a hold of me yesterday on a text. He's like, Krug, I haven't texted you in months, but I love your buddy
Coccimilgio.
That guy's phenomenal, man. He starts, and I'm like, no, if you really knew him, you wouldn't think he's phenomenal. And I started saying, no, I'm carrying this guy. I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. If I left this guy in front of a microphone for 5 minutes and me and Rye weren't there, I mean, this guy would be complete and talking to his dogs. I mean, I'm like, I push back so hard. I'm like, this guy's crap. I'm propping this guy up. I mean, this guy can barely speak the language. I'm going, but one of the things he was saying is just that, he's like they need to sell. They absolutely need to sell. And he's like, you guys make a compelling argument. And I agree with Coccimilgio. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they need to sell. I'm just saying, I think there's about a 20% chance, just to, if they make minor moves, there's about probably a little over a 20% chance of them making the playoffs.
Here's what I would do. Here's what I would do if I'm running the Giants. I would sell Rodon and get a top prospect, whether it be Walker from St. Louis or
can I throw my scenario out there?
Yeah.
Here's my scenario, and there's somebody had it in here in the chat, and I just want to grab it. Somebody had one here that I was like, wow, you know what? We're thinking along the same lines. What do you think of doing this? Okay, going for okay, I can't find it here anymore, but somebody had thrown in Shohei Ohtani. Oh, yeah. What do you think of trading the prospects necessary, like 4 premier prospects? Maybe it's Luciano, Bednar, Matos, Hunter Bishop, Reggie Crawford, whatever. 5 guys. Maybe you keep 1 guy. Maybe you keep Harrison, and then you trade 5 of your top 6 or 7 guys to the Angels for Shohei. Re-up Shohei, big money long term. And then try to make some other moves that are more like buy moves. So you're not really you're selling, but you're selling for pieces that you can either use now or next season. And then you buy in that. Like, you could trade Rodon. Like, you're not going for it this year, and you're selling Rodon, and you're going to sell Belt, and you're going to sell Jock Peterson, and you're going to sell Wilmer Floyd. You're going to sell a number of these pieces, right? But you're also, at the same time as you're selling off some of these pieces to get AA and AAA guys on the verge, you're also trading 4 of your premier guys, including Luciano, to the Angels for Ohtani. So now, and you're going to sign Ohtani. You're going to get Ohtani. You're going to sign Ohtani. So you get Ohtani, you sign Ohtani, and then you trade Rodon and these other guys for pieces that, basically tell your fans you're not going to go for it this year, but they're also not A-ball guys. They're AA and AAA guys. And you try to kind of like trade for the headliner that makes you kind of exciting the rest of the year and gives people a reason to kind of dream the dream.
And have guys like me renew their tickets.
Yeah, but then still sell off pieces to try to accelerate your rebuild, and then promote some guys like Ramos later in the year, and then take September and see what you can promote out of the minor leagues, see what you can get via these sell trades, and build around Ohtani. You're going to announce to everybody you have no chance to win this year. You might get Artie Moreno to. If I'm Artie Moreno, the Dodgers are knocking on his door for Ohtani. The last thing you want to do if you're Artie Moreno is give him to the Dodgers. The other team that wants Ohtani, they're saying, is the Padres. If I'm Artie Moreno and I'm in Orange County, I don't want the Dodgers or the Padres getting Ohtani. In fact, I hate the Dodgers so much, I might be willing to trade him to the Giants just to make sure he's not a Dodger. What do you think of that?
Great point there, Larry, because if Ohtani goes to the Dodgers, LA.
Dun, dun, dun. Whoa, MF donates $100. MF. Trade DeSclafani's awful contract. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a bad contract, but who's spending more wildly, Farhan on DeSclafani or MF in the chat?
I love it.
Also, wait a second. Who got more bang for their buck? MF giving $100 for trade DeSclafani, or Farhan, who paid $36 million for 3 years of DeSclafani?
It didn't cost Farhan $36 million. It cost Farhan nothing. The owners are paying that.
Hey, I gotta say, MF, I like that you threw the profile
Nick says MF,
there.
buy the contract out.
Yeah, I like his profile picture he's got going there. He's a handsome guy.
Look at that. Look at that.
Cleaned up.
He's in a suit.
He's got the world by the oysters. And 20 minutes ago, he was attacking Marty, but no longer. We've agreed to move beyond that.
Well, okay.
Look at that. Well, all we did was break a little bread, and just I just brought it real. He brought it real. We've overcome it. We've moved beyond it, and MF is still very much with us. Patrick Sheehan, where's Patrick Sheehan?
Oh,
where's
sorry.
that one?
Can I send MF my Venmo?
Can I send MF my Venmo? Oh my God, MF! I love the Krueg show. MF, we love you. We love you.
Yeah.
Be nice to Marty. Remember awesome that, donation. But we love you.
Hey, in all seriousness,
that is a tremendous donation.
That is.
We're gonna just leave that one up.
Yeah. In all seriousness, I would do that, Larry. I would try if you could go and get Shohei, but I would trade Rodon and other pieces, like you said. Grow the minor leagues. Get a Shohei, and I think if you went and got a Shohei, and then in the off season you just went out and paid overpriced to get Aaron Judge out, well, don't you?
Okay, so see, that's part. See, Danny, we think alike. That's part of my thinking. If you sell here aggressively, you're going to have a hard time attracting premier free agents. But especially if your guys are A-ball. But if look at this. Look at that. Jimmy Mole in the house. MF may have bank, but he's no Fidel Castro.
Let's go, Jim.
Look at that.
Jim Mole.
Jim Mole. Jim Mole. Oh, my goodness.
Ryan, when I say Jim, you say Mole. Jim!
Mole!
Jim!
Mole!
Now give it one of these, though. Jim!
Mole!
Hey, Jimmy, what do you call the accent over the E? Is that an accent aigu or an accent grave? From my French days, there's I believe if it's this way, it's mole. But is it mole? Is it the accent aigu or the accent grave? And I'm not sure if I should have rolled my R's there, but I just did. It seems like it works for other people. It can work for me.
So on Ohtani, I
need to know that. I need to know. I need to.
He says aigu.
Accent aigu. Aigu. Look at that. Look at that. Now I've taught somebody something. Now you know you're aigu. Aigu goes, down to the left. Grave goes down to the right. He's an aigu. Jimmy Mole, $50 in the house.
Love you, Jimmy. Okay, so all right,
Jimmy's the man.
Two questions for you guys, as guys who've been around the game for longer than I have. Okay, so the first one is Ohtani. Am I right? Ohtani's the most valuable player on the if we were just
marketing or what,
or just he's a all-star pitcher and an all-star hitter. Like,
no way, MF.
Oh
what
my God.
No way.
Oh my.
MF 200 bones.
Oh,
been listening to Larry for years. Don't want to get on his bad side by bashing his friends. If I knew that hard conversation was going to lead to this, I would have had it days ago.
Would it been harder?
This is what this is what I respect about MF is that he crossed a line, didn't really realize it. I had to kind of deal with it a little bit today. And I had to explain to Marty. Marty wasn't happy. He's like, why you retweeting this guy? I'm like, he seems pretty good natured in the tweets. And he's like, well, he's been harsh to me and this and that. And I said, Marty, you know what? Our friendship means a lot to you. Means a lot to me. So I said, you know what? I'll unlike the one that I liked and I'll talk to him. And then the fact that we talked through the chat and that MF is so gracious to kind of understand where I'm coming from and have some respect for, the fact that Marty and I have broken bread, and then Marty and I have, he's been there for me when I've buried my parents. I mean, he's been there for me when I've gone through real life tragedy, when I've lost jobs and I've had nothing and I needed counsel and I needed a friend and I needed someone to put their arm around me and say, hey, you know what? You're pretty damn good. And Marty's been that person for me. So he means more to me than just like another media guy. You know what I mean? He's not just another guy that I see eating a free hot dog in the press box. He's like I consider him like a lifelong friend. So MF, I do thank you for all your donations, of course, but also the fact that you respect that I love Marty and I don't want you ripping him and let's leave him alone, because he does a good job. Marty knows the game. And is he more positive than me? Yeah. But you know what? There's a lot of people that are more I could probably stand to be more positive. So I lose patience with Farhan and with Gabe and all of his stances and his I lose patience and I don't have the patience to deal with it. So anyway, I've said enough.
It's interesting because I have always been pretty optimistic as a Giants fan.
Which is why you're probably gone at the end of the week here. I mean, we're going to look for somebody a little bit more negative.
But this year has frustrated me like no other because
we've rubbed off on you. We've made you the negative guy that you are now.
I predicted before the season started
you were a friendly guy spraying Drakkar Noir on people as they were coming into Macy's. Would you like a little Drakkar Noir? And then me and Rye hit you, and then suddenly Gabe's got to go.
No, right? I really thought this was
you were spraying cologne on people, and now we have poisoned you.
You have. No, I predicted a 90 to 95 win team. No one expected him to win 107, but when I started seeing a lot of the platooning that seemed to just go against counterintuitiveness of just looking at seeing like you're benching guys that are hot. They just hit a home run. Now the next.
No, you know what? The thing that's so nauseating about Kapler is the endless and strict lefty righty dog shit to the death.
That's what I'm saying.
There is no exception to the rules. It's like this is the rule: lefty righty, righty lefty, lefty righty, righty lefty. It gets. You feel like it's like really. I mean, you got to pitch it for Belt, really?
He's 3 for 3. He's 3 for 3, and you're pinch hitting for him for David VR, who's like he's hitting under 200. Just
who probably would apologize to Bell.
Larry would have pulled a hamstring and hit a base hit.
I would have popped both hammies.
Okay, wait.
Wait a second. Let me read a couple of these. Wait. Jim Mole says, fuck that up. Should have been I. All right, well, whatever. Nick J says, are Marty and KD friends? kind of soft with the Twitter. That's come on. It's not now we are comparing Marty to KD. Damn, MF, your house must smell like rich mahogany.
Yep.
I have lots of leather-bound books, and I'm kind of a big deal.
I think what some guys in the chat should do, maybe 5 or 6 guys get together, throw a little loot together, and come up with a $300 donation. Split it $50, 6 of you, or maybe get 8 of you guys, or how about 10 of you guys and throw in $30 each.
What are you trying to get a party bus for prom? Or what are you doing here, Danny?
And then get 300. I just want to see somebody top.
You want to see somebody Romo. Top 3?
I want to see somebody top Romo, because I know what Romo will come back with. He'll come back with 4.
Can anybody top 3 bills? Robert Rothberg, who's a positive force, he says, I cannot comprehend why concede with 2 months left in the season and still in contention. Okay, Robert, here's the thing about this, though, that is kind of ridiculous. If the Giants do, I read this today, if the Giants do concede and decide to trade, there's like 17 teams competing for 15 playoff spots. It's like half the league. Yeah. It's like truly there'll be no surprises. I mean, like there's almost as many teams not competing as there are competing. That's not good. That is definitely not good. But Robert, here's the thing. Is that it's so hard to draft and develop, and these, a team like the Giants, 2 years ago they sat with Bumgarner and Will Smith, and what did it get them? It didn't get them a whole lot, and they could have accelerated. They could have accelerated their rebuild if they had turned those guys into 2 key cogs. And we're talking about all you need. You don't need to get a king's ransom. You just need to get one good guy. One good player, 1 or 2 for every big time player that you trade, and you've rebuilt your team. So I understand. It's kind of like, why do you take a step back to take 2 steps forward? Because you get kind of caught in that rut. I mean, it's not the NBA where you get caught in NBA middle ground and it's like the lottery and that kind of thing. It's different. It's not the same. So when people make that comparison, you always got to remind them of that. It's not the NBA. But I just think it's so hard to develop prospects. Prospects are it's like gold bullion to Major League Baseball teams, and they're so hard to cultivate. They're so hard to draft, so hard to find, that if another team is willing to trade you a player that isn't a high schooler, isn't a college player, is somebody that they drafted and they got through rookie league and A-ball and low A and high A and maybe even double A, and now the guy's coming off of a successful year in double A, I think you got a reasonable belief, or should have a belief, that player is going to be a major leaguer. And so I think, and when you really look at what you get when you trade for a minor leaguer, aren't you getting, is it 4 or is it 6 years of control?
I believe it's 6, I think.
You're getting a lot of years of control.
Arbitration. They got a couple years.
I think there's 3 years of arbitration. There's 2 rookie years. I think it's 4 or 5 years of control. That's a long time to have control over a player. So to me, trading for the guy who's coming off of a good half season in double A is actually kind of a sneaky, really good value play. And I think I'd love to see the failure rate. I'm not sure if it's a failure rate is anywhere close to the failure rate of high school college players. Nick J says Marty's best drop is it's orgasmic. Lou Marson says, Larry, is MF now a friend or is he now a good friend? That's right. Lou's a good friend. Lou's more of a lifelong friend than MF. Lou, you're like a 1970s friend, where MF is strictly a 2022 friend. But I try not to grade them. MF donates $4.99. He says, don't want to be liked because I donate a lot. I want to be liked because I'm a quality person and I can better myself in the future.
Wow. MF is the man. He's the freaking man.
Now I think he's bullshitting us.
Oh, God.
Now I think he's laughing. I think that was all a joke. That is funny.
I never got my questions out. So, okay.
Sorry about that.
Ohtani has to, this is going to be more of a statement. Disagree if you want, but Ohtani's far and away the most valuable player in all of baseball. And I don't think it's particularly close as long as you have team control. I mean, the guy is an all-star pitcher and an all-star hitter. So he's gonna require a king's ransom. We're gonna have to give up probably our 5-6 best prospects. I'm down to do that, but in the history of Major League Baseball, what you were asking is like, would you be down to do that if we have the extension? When has that happened where like a big time all-star player with 1 year left on his deal is traded for, and they just have an agreement already made the second he gets there, it's an extension? Because if there's no precedent for that, I want nothing to do with Ohtani.
Can you make that deal with an agent?
I would say there is precedent for that. I just don't know who it is.
Okay.
Can you make that deal with an agent as part of like the trade? Or you can maybe have the Angels sign him to that.
Well,
contract.
if nothing else, how about this? Maybe you couldn't do it in actuality, but what if you could get a real idea of the framework of what that agent's looking for or what that player's looking for, so that at least you would know, okay, you know what? We can hang inside that framework. I think we can put a deal together based on what your needs are. But I just look at Ohtani and I think, and I'm thinking city of San Francisco, and this guy's a two-way player, and he's just a wonderful talent.
We're adding two all-stars.
And think about it too. You're adding like Marichal and McCovey.
Right? Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean, you're adding a guy who's got the kind of power that he could live in the Cove. I mean, it could be Ohtani could own that Cove. I mean, Ohtani, you guys have seen those right-handed pull shots. I mean, he's like a baseball 2022 version of Ivan Drago.
Right.
Oh, here, CK
was Ohtani, like 28.
If he dies, he dies.
Says Dodgers with bets.
That's my Drago. Do you like my Drago?
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Last year in 2020 and then signed the extension. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, if we can pull that off, then I'm super in. Also, we're talking about these prospects and things we could maybe get
bets. There you go. CK Chin, thank you for that. Yeah. Bets, Mookie.
So, okay, what about, I mean, if we have to look at the Luis Castillo trade, because that set the market. The Mariners gave up 3 of their 4 best prospects. They gave up 5 guys, and
2 of the top 100 in all of baseball.
2 of the top 100, and one of them was top 15. So
one of the things, Rye, that they were saying on the broadcast tonight was that the Mariners haven't been in the playoffs for years, and they probably
16 years
overpaid.
Yeah, but I don't think.
What does Castillo have for control?
He's got another year after this, at least. So he's not a free agent. I think he's got at least next year, maybe 24. He's after the 24 season. Let me look it up.
I mean, they were saying it on the broadcast tonight. Rodon's going to fetch.
Rodon's a better player he's a better player. And these teams, I mean, we're going to get a top 15 prospect, no doubt, if we trade Rodon plus more, in my opinion.
Lou Marson says, Larry, you're a real Giants fan. We go back 50 years. We are real fans. Remember that. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Lou. Absolutely. I can still remember your dad walking up from his box seats. I think maybe on the third base side. I think Pops sat on the third base side, going to an awful lot of games. I can remember seeing him there. I know he was a big time Giants fan. Probably through the years, he was as big a Giants fan as any. MF, I'll stop it with the nonsense on Twitter. All right. Hey, thank you, MF. You're a quality man. Robert Rothberg, Kapler should be commended for utilizing the roster he has where so many players are injured. Okay, let's get to that for a second. Where are you guys with Kapler? Because it's weird. It's like, if you said whose fault is this, you can't really blame Kapler, really. I just get the feeling that Kapler's annoying as shit. That's and it just seems like that. I don't know him. He just seems annoying to me. And I hate the way all the media soft pedal everything around him. Like he's just he's going to bite your head off. I don't remember that vibe with Boch, and I just don't like it. I mean, if you're going to bark at somebody, be wearing lots and lots of rings, not none. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's something about Kapler I don't like. And I know he's every time I interview him, great. Thank you. Great. Phenomenal question. And there's a little bit of the pandering element. You feel like you're getting the pat on the head, and so I kind of feel like there's a phoniness to him. But then there's other times I'm like, you know what? He seems really authentic, and I know he's smart. It's not about not being smart, and it's not like he's like reckless or anything. He's not reckless. He seems like a good communicator. I just don't love. I respect Kapler, but I don't love the strict adherence to lefty-righty matchup games. I'd like it to be a little bit more, pick and choose, a little bit more fluid, as opposed to I'm playing the lefty-righty, I'm playing the lefty-right, I'm playing the lefty, right? I mean, that would be my biggest complaint. And then also I don't like how he plays those games over sitting Peterson when he's hot. Sometimes I feel like some of his decisions seem like I would call them cue card managing, as opposed to like I wrote it on a card at 2:00, as opposed to I'm watching the game and it's 8:45 and I think this is the right move. I get the feeling sometimes that some of these things have been decided on before dinner time. And that's like, the pre-dinner managing of the game for a night game. I don't know. Maybe it's I just saw too much of the hum baby. I saw too much of Boch. I like using the analytics. I believe strongly in the numbers being valuable, but I think there needs to be a blend, and I'm not sure if he's got that blend.
Yeah, the funny thing is, Lair, I like the idea of Will Clark, it being part of the organization, but if we got rid of Kapler for Will Clark, I almost feel like it's almost like something that like a bad organization would do, like go from the most analytical to the point of like annoyance analytical to just the completely other side of the spectrum. And I feel like in a different way, I think Kapler, actually in more of a Harbaugh way, not Kapler, Will Clark. I think in more of a Harbaugh way, Will Clark probably would wear on guys too after a couple of years of the whole rah-rah thing can. It can only really
think I'm over-modulating? No!
Justin Kerwin says, hey, Danny, you want people to donate? How about throw in some tickets?
Hey, we could
look at that.
We could do that.
How could we work that out? Calba Kamiga donates $10. Sorry to change the flow and a meager donation. Never apologize. First of all, do not apologize for any donation. Rye appreciates all donations. Danny is a little bit more arrogant. He needs bigger money. But I mean, Rye and I appreciate, the little people out there. Danny's a little bit of more of the Gotham Club kind of a crowd, but don't let that deter you.
Don't worry, I'm just the punching bag of the show.
Danny's in a B&B. Where are you right now?
I'm up in Prescott, Arizona.
Prescott?
Yeah.
What's the song that says Prescott, Arizona?
Oh, that's you're thinking of Winslow, Arizona.
Winslow, Arizona. I'm standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. There you go. Eagles.
Nice.
Calba says, sorry to change the flow. ESPN ranks Christian McCaffrey second among running backs behind Jonathan Taylor in fantasy football. Doesn't that seem high given his injury history? Pasquale, please. He wants some Pasquale. Now people are calling for Pasquale. I'll see your Pasquale and I'll raise.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you don't take Christian McCaffrey second overall in the fantasy draft. All right, let's talk fantasy for just 1 second. I happen to have a fantasy magazine right here.
Oh, at least it's football. I'm glad it's football.
Danny. Yeah, sorry, Danny. Your Gent or your Jugs or whatever magazine you're looking at. Yeah, exactly. Danny's like, oh yeah, thank you. I like Jugs. All right. I had Jonathan Taylor as the far and away the number one back. And then I'm looking at the list of running backs, and I'll tell you, I don't like it this year. Derrick Henry, got to think at some point he's going to get hurt. Dalvin Cook's always hurt. Christian McCaffrey's always hurt. Najee Harris is supposedly over 260 pounds. And they've got a rookie quarterback or Trubisky. Joe Mixon was good, but not great. I think he takes a little bit of a backslide this year. Austin Eckler is good in a PPR league, but I'm not sure about in a regular standard scoring league. Alvin Kamara, okay, but how good is Jameis going to be? Are they going to load up to stop Kamara? Is he going to get hurt? Nick Chubb is in Cleveland, but if they don't have Deshaun Watson, by the way, decision's coming down tomorrow, they say. And you got Kareem Hunt there, and they just drafted Ford out of Cincinnati. So, is Chubb going to get the ball? Aaron Jones probably going to be a good fantasy player. I kind of like James Conner. Javonte Williams, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. I mean, I'm just saying, like, Jonathan Taylor, if you have the first pick in the draft, take Jonathan Taylor. If you have the second pick in the draft and somebody else takes somebody besides Jonathan Taylor, take Jonathan Taylor. But if you have like the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh pick, and you're thinking running back, I wouldn't take any of those running backs high. I think they're all kind of injury risks. I like guys down the list like Ramondre Stevenson or, I don't know. Kenneth Walker from the third from Seattle, Antonio Gibson, if he's healthy.
Yeah, I was going to say Gibson of Washington. He seems kind of like
Javonte Williams in Denver, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of bad picks going to be invested in running backs in the first round of the fantasy draft this year.
Oh, cat's going wild since you brought out the fantasy crap.
What's that?
The chat room. It's all the
suddenly
bots
exploding.
All the porn bots are hitting it as soon as you threw out the word fantasy.
Well, do you think I've handicapped that right or wrong, Rye? You played fantasy. Dan, do you play fantasy? You're going to play this year.
I'm going to play this year. You bet.
The thing is, it's just like in fantasy football, like you just have to take running backs in the first couple rounds because it's just a matter.
I think I'd rather have Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase if I didn't get the first pick in the draft.
Receptions on running backs?
Probably 0.5.
0.5.
Probably 0.5 per PPR. Here's the thing. It's just like it's so hard to get a workhorse that that the volume's there. Here's an idea. Okay. Because the biggest issue is just injury. And the thing about wide receivers is that, there's the difference between, the number 8 wide receiver and the number 30 wide receiver is actually not that different. But the difference between the number 8 running back and the number 30 running back is freaking massive. So you still want to take a running back early, but maybe find one that you feel comfortable with.
Who do you like? That's what I'm saying. I think it's a really tough year.
I'll put Dalvin Cook is probably my second running back. And then I especially like that because I'll pick up Madison in the later rounds. And I know if Dalvin goes down, then Madison's still going to be a stud, especially in that new offense. So I like playing it like that. If I know there's a backup that's going to be, it's not going to diminish super hard and I can get him late, then that's something I'm interested in. I don't know about Derrick Henry, but
yeah, another donation.
MF donates $9.99. It's random, but Dwayne Kuiper sounds electric on the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, yours is just watching him on TV.
Kite's one of the most underrated broadcasters in the history of broadcasting. Let's be totally honest about it. Think about it.
Oh, yeah.
He's a player who's got the smoothness, and he's smooth. He's got great pipes. He's got great tempo. He's got that Midwestern kind of homer kind of vibe, but he's lived so much on the West Coast that it's kind of washed away. So it's not as heavy as the Midwestern homer. It's more subtle. It's more like in fitting with the Bay Area. So he's rooting for the Giants clearly, but it's not Mike Shannon. He's rooting for the Giants, but he's not, good guys. He's not Hawk Harrelson. He's not Midwestern kind of hokey. It's more Bay Area sensibilities. He's obviously rooting for the Giants, but there's a layer. He gets excited about baseball, good baseball plays. I've always thought Kipe is an amazing talent. He really is because, he's smooth, and they call him smooth for a reason. And he was a very good Giant as a pinch hitter. He came over in the 80s and on those Frank Robinson teams, and he was a veteran guy who knew the strike zone and great pinch hitter off the bench. But then his real calling in some ways has been the broadcasting. I think he's like a Hall of Fame type broadcaster. He's got great wit. He's got great pacing. He's got great pipes. He complements his partners absolutely to perfection. And he's very much like the soundtrack of our summer. And I don't want to sound extra hokey, but I love the guy. I think he's really, really good.
Here's
really
another
good.
One. Justin Kerwin says, what do we got here? Say Giants move on from Kapler. Who would they really bring in to guide this shit show in 2023?
I mean, I threw out Will Clark.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Somebody else said, I think it was Romo, somewhere in the comments said if I can find it, if Clark wasn't to take the position, who would you take? I would say Ron Wotus. That's to run the club. I would pick Ron Wotus in a heartbeat if Clark, if they got rid of Kapler and Clark didn't want it. Ron Wotus, he won in the minor leagues.
I agree. I think Ron Wotus is a missing cog this year. I think Ron Wotus is a big part of the work ethic that this team had. Now, I don't know if Ronnie wants to do it at this point, but there's no doubt he'd be respected. Maybe he didn't have a big enough name when they went to go to Boch, maybe that's why.
Kapler, though. They went to Kapler. I mean, Wotus interviewed.
But that was a different decision maker altogether. That wasn't Sabe's decision. That was Farhan, and then it was about relationships and the relationships that Farhan had with Gabe in LA. And
I think if
you got to have a trust between your GM and your manager. There's no doubt.
I think if Farhan did not come in 4 years ago, I think Boch would have continued to be the manager. I don't know if he would still be the manager today if he'd want to stay with a full rebuild, but Wotus under the old regime, if they were still, if Sabes was still running, I think Wotus would have been the guy because he's.
Justin Kerwin says you see an NFL rumor has Watson being suspended between 6 and 8 weeks with an $8 million fine.
Supposed to come out tomorrow, I understand, from the judge.
To me, I mean, so wait a second. Calvin Ridley gambles on the NFL, gets a year plus. 24 different women say that Deshaun Watson exposed himself during a massage and had various levels of threatening type behavior in a private massage. This is clearly his move. The fact that he settled with a bunch of them just doesn't make me feel any better about him at all. It makes me feel worse. And he's going to get 6 to 8 games and an $8 million fine on the heels of getting a ridiculous monster extension. I mean, the NFL's got a major image problem on their hands with that whole decision.
I think if it comes out, it's a year-long suspension. I think Jimmy is a Cleveland Brown by Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. If this decision's a year, if it's 6 to 8 games, I don't see the Browns doing much. They'll try and get by with what they have and see if they can, hold the line until Watson comes in. But I would be shocked if it's only, like you said, 8 weeks. I mean,
Jim Millay talking about Kipe, he says they do call him smooth.
Hey,
since I put that up there and you were talking about Watson, I'm like, well, maybe I better clarify that. Or Jay Stamp says that's why they call him Smoothie. Yeah, he is smooth. Jay says if Kipe were a wine, what kind of wine would he be?
I don't know. I'm not good. I don't know.
Are you a wine? You're not a wine guy?
I don't know wines.
Are you a Pinot, Cabernet, Danny, Merlot? What's your wine? Are you
I like a red wine.
You seem like a Boone's cherry wine guy.
I like a red wine. Yeah, I'm not big on white wine.
I'm not big on white wines either. In fact, I can't drink white wine unless it's like Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
If you offer me a little Prosecco or something like that, something that's like a little bit of like a wine / champagne, possibly you'll get me interested, but I can't go white wine.
I just really can't go white wine. Getting back to Kapler, you look at his record. He's been a manager.
I'd rather talk white wine, actually.
But he was a manager with the Phillies
before you get that in, I just want to put this on the record because this is a hot take I was thinking about earlier today when I was thinking about Jimmy G, and Deshaun Watson and whatnot, and I saw the 6 to 8 games thing. This is my hot take. Just going to put it out there. Then the floor is yours, Danny. Deshaun Watson gets between 6 and 8 games. That's what the judge in the NFLPA that they whatever agreed on. That's what the independent judge says. Roger Goodell, as just a total freaking massive PR play, takes that 6 to 8 game ruling, and he rules that instead Watson's out for the season.
That would be
putting that out there.
What do you think of Watson replacing Kapler? All right. MF donates $4.99. Is Dave Fleming the future of the broadcast team with Estes and Javi? No. I mean, yes, he better be.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, who else is?
Hunter Pence. But not.
I think.
I do like Hunter Pence. At first I thought he was over the top, but now I kind of like him. I'll say this: the guy who they blew it with,
my calls in San Diego.
Well, do we have? I have this young broadcaster. Can we call up Dan in San Diego? Right?
Yeah.
Let's hear Dan in San Diego. We know a young broadcaster who has a little tape that he sent us. No, Dan, Rye's not moving. He's not getting it.
Wait, I don't get it.
We don't have the ability to call up Dan's home run when he was in San Diego. Danny, our Dan Coccimilgio's home run call.
Oh, okay. Wait. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of where I would have that.
Don't worry about it. But I would say Javi is really, really, really good. But the guy that was so good was Affelt. And I'm not sure what happened there. Because
that was a little weird.
Yeah, Affelt was good.
Affelt's glib. He's funny.
Yeah.
It's a long year. You better have a sense of humor.
Well, how about the guy down there at San Jose that he does the spring training games? That he's what's his name?
Joe Rizzo?
Yeah, Joe Rizzo.
He's
fine. He might be a guy that they bring up. Or
I was thinking maybe you get Will Fleming to leave the Red Sox and join Dave over here.
That would be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? Two brothers?
Yeah. That would be really cool.
Will Fleming, Dave Fleming? I mean, you'd have to pay him good
you want
money.
to go for a little nostalgia? Bring back Hank Greenwald's son. Is down doing the Astros in Fresno. I don't know if it's
Hank Greenwald wrote that book and kind of took the Giants apart and decided instead of, if he hadn't ripped the Giants, his son probably is in there right now.
Oh, wow.
But he ripped the Giants. And when you rip the Giants, come on. Yeah, you got to, I hope it felt good. Hope it felt good to rip them. Sometimes it's better to just hold your tongue.
That's why my career with the Giants is over before it even started.
What if they're like, you know what? We were going with Dan Coccimilgio, but he has just been too critical on the Krueg show.
Dang.
Someone says, be wheezy in the booth.
Hey, when I can't sell my tickets to the, for awesome
GTC
seats.
Reels, they blew it with Joe Angel. Put that one in the win column. Do you remember that one?
I was never a big fan of Joe Angel. Personally.
Joe Angel?
Nice guy.
Really nice guy.
Just didn't like his delivery. I like Ron Fairley's delivery on that Will Clark home run when he hit that one against the Astros.
I couldn't stand Ron Fairley. First of all, he was a Dodger.
I know, but I just
like
the one
he had
call.
This cackle. He was just this cackling chicken of an announcer.
The call he had with Will Clark.
Him and Lindsey Nelson, I just couldn't hang with.
Hello, everybody. This is Lindsey Nelson along with Hank Greenwald for today's ball game against the New York Mets, my former ball club. The Giants are on a 3-game winning streak. What do you think over there, Ron? You think they're going to make it 4? Oh, Lindsey Nelson. And we move to further action because of the time constraints. Notre Dame football.
Lindsey Nelson had a great career, though. You cannot deny that. MF donates another $9.99. He says, been listening to Jeremy Affelt on KMBR on Friday nights for a few years. I love those segments. Always hilarious. I mean, Jeremy has got such a great personality. Now he's got his own brewery in the San Antonio area.
Company, makes his own.
And he's a good guy, but he's funny. He's funny, man. Yeah. I think he's funny.
Yeah.
And over the course of a long year, you need some humor. But I like Hunter Pence, too. I like Hunter Pence because there's something about Hunter Pence where you get some analysis, and he's rah-rah, but he's like rah-rah in this charming kind of a way. I think there's something there with Hunter Pence. I really do. I think Hunter Pence has got some real ability.
Yeah.
He's got to find the right blend. But I think he's damn good. Javi, I think, is incredibly great.
Javi's good. Yeah, Javi is.
I mean, he's
good.
Super smooth.
Javi,
in some ways, he's got some type to him. Javi's like, I joked with him once on the radio. I'm like, you're the Mo Berg of 2022. There was this backup catcher who used to have a tuxedo in his locker because he was like a spy for the U.S. government during World War II. And he was going, other guys are dipping and this guy, at the end of the game putting on a tuxedo and going to the White House for state dinners. And he was filming, boots on the ground in Hiroshima. I mean, this guy's ridiculous. If you ever get a chance to watch the Sports Century series that ESPN put together, go watch the one they did on Mo Berg. You can find it on YouTube. You will just be like, what? This guy was like an international spy, and he was a backup. Imagine if Kurt Casale was also an international spy.
Michael Papirski.
Yeah. Imagine if Papirski was like the key to finding out what's going on really with Putin. If we leaned on Papirski for all of our behind enemy lines information. Imagine that. Danny's laughing, but it's true. It's true. Mo Berg, look it up. Anonymous. Greenwald's son is not very good. Oh, come on. He sounds just like him. He does. He really sounds just like him.
Yeah.
Nick J says Laura Britt in the booth. All right, let's not do that. Let's not make this an announcer thing.
Yeah.
Mark Graves, who has the right to silence Danny at any point, says Lindsey Nelson's jacket messed with the TV screen.
Yeah, that's right. That jacket.
Oh, we got another donation here from MF. He says Tim Ryan, Krueg, and Tolbert are all phenomenal. I just saw Tim Ryan. He's going to be with us. Tim Ryan down at camp. He's fired up. Says the Niners are going to be less of an outside zone stretch running team and more of a power running team with Ty Davis Price.
I like that.
Should be interesting. That should be interesting. Okay, so we have been going for an hour and 45 minutes, and it's about 10:15. Where do you guys have other things you want to get into? Other things you want to add? I just wanted
to throw out one thought I was going to throw out earlier about Gabe. If you throw out Gabe's record last year, which was, I attribute a lot of that to Buster Posey and Crawford and Belt just having career years, and just maybe, I know they said they didn't know that Buster was going to be his last year, but maybe subconsciously they could feel it, and they just went out and they played like their careers out. They just had great years. So the Giants, everything went right last year. But Gabe, in his first year with the Phillies, was 80 and 82. Then he was 81 and 81, got fired. Then he comes to the Giants. The short season is 29 and 31. And then this year he's 51 and 51. 3 out of 4 years.
He's been 500.
He's been 500. And I'm starting to wonder if that's just the kind of clubs he manages, because he had some talent in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but how long was he there? 2
years. 2 years.
2 years. And
there's some highlights. The thing that made me nervous when I looked at Kapler's run in Philly wasn't that they were 500 basically for 2 years. It was that they were dramatically below 500 in September both years. Mm-hmm. So it made me think that over the course of a 162 that he wears like hell. You know what I mean? And suddenly guys tune him out, and that it's like they're just the last month of the season. It's like, oh my God, let me get out of here. Because neither of those Phillies teams finish fast. Now, last year, I mean, what do you even say about last year? They won 107 games. I don't even know what to make of last year. In some ways, I still think to this moment, last year is one of the most. I mean, it's even beyond incredible. It just feels.
It was magical.
It almost feels like from, like it was like predetermined or something. It was weird. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just that team with that talent never should have won 107. No way. Yeah. The 93 Giants would have circled laps around that team.
And the 02 and
the 93 Giants were worlds better than the 2021 Giants. And yet the 2021 Giants on paper were not just better, they were 4 games better.
Well, do you think anything has to do with maybe the league is catching up with the style of play? They know that they're
or maybe last year teams didn't go. Maybe last year because of coming off the pandemic, and I don't know. Was last year about the Giants, or was last year about the league that the Giants played in?
Last year was about the Giants. I think. I mean, this year, the one thing I'll say in defense of Kapler is, I mean, we won 107 last year, and really, is there a single manager in all of baseball that could win 95 games with this exact roster? I don't think so. I mean, this roster.
It's last year, though. The one thing I look at.
But seriously, answer that, because like if we're gonna rip on Kapler, is the best manager? How many wins does the best manager, whoever that is in your eyes, win with this team?
Well, I think a good manager could be worth 10 to 20 games. I mean, to me, some of the greatest manager. Well, I think I'm going to go through three of the greatest managerial seasons I've ever seen in my lifetime, where I felt like the manager had a huge impact.
Yeah.
I would say 86 Giants with Roger Craig. He called pitch outs constantly, and those pitch outs guys were stealing like every time. I mean, somehow like Roger got signed. Roger could steal signs that nobody else could steal. So 86 Giants won 86 or 80. Yeah, 86 Giants won 86 games, I believe. But that was Roger's amazing job. Dusty's first year, 1993, pressed every right button. Every right button. It was amazing. And he had never managed before. He had no real philosophies. He was just managing his ass off every day to win that day. And so that's kind of that to me is an illustration of the best way to do it is just don't worry about the long range. Just try to win today. And I thought Dusty did that in 93. And then the third one was Felipe in 03, his first year with the Giants. Magical. I mean, every right decision they could make in 03. They won 103 games, I think.
Right.
100 games. 100 games or
they didn't play
100 or 101.
They went 106 and lost 61. They missed one game was canceled.
Yeah, so 100. They got 100 wins in 2003. Felipe made every right call. Dusty made every right call in 93. They won 103. And then I would say Roger Craig in 85 or 86.
Here's what I would say, Larry Ryan, about the
49ers says Cap in 21 better than all of them with arguably less talent.
Well, here's what I would say with
I know, but is that Buster? Is it Cap? I mean, I don't know.
Well, Lamont Wade. Here's one thing people got to remember is when new guys come up, the league doesn't know them. You look at Cody Bellinger. He hit 9 home runs, won MVP in 19. The guy's crap now. He can't even hit 200. He can't hit his way out of a wet paper bag anymore. So Cody Bellinger, the league has figured out his weak spot. Lamont Wade is hitting below 200 this year. He hit 18 home runs last year, and he hit a lot of clutch plays. But if you notice in September, and he didn't do anything in the playoffs. Once people figure out your weak spot, and so he was great last year. Belt was great. Crawford was great. Posey was his usual greatness. And then you had guys.
The bullpen was great.
The bullpen was great. And Gabe, everything.
The defense was, I guess you'd have to say, lucky, because they were incredible last year.
I mean,
I just don't think 162. I don't think that. I think it was just a confluence of things. But like seriously, but back to that question, like I don't personally, if we gave let's say we had Bob Melvin was the manager of the Giants this year, I still don't think they win 95 games or like whoever a top level guy is. So I mean, how much can we really crap on Kapler? If
I'm not going to blame Kapler for everything, because I believe I'll put more of the blame on Farhan. When Larry did his poll, depending on who's knowing the facts, it's either ownership or Farhan 1, 2. I put Gabe at 3. The only where I put
the ownership has to take some blame for not spending the same percentage that the Dodgers spent.
Absolutely, spend that 5% more. That would have been
$20 million.
$20 million. That gets you 2 more players that you could have signed in free agency.
There's no way that LA can make that much more revenue than you, and you allow them to spend a higher percentage. Right. If they're gonna make $575 million in revenue, and you're gonna make $350 million in revenue, okay. You have to spend the same percentage of your revenue that they're spending on player payroll to have a shot. You can't. They're going to spend more money because they make more money. But if they spend a higher percentage and they make more money, that's a double loser. How do you overcome that? It's very difficult to overcome that. The Dodgers are going to have a revenue generator that generates $600 million, and they're going to spend 52% of it on players. And you're going to have a $385 million revenue base, and you're going to spend 47% of it on players. You can't lose twice. Right. You have to spend the same percentage they spend to give yourself a chance. The Giants didn't. They spent 5% less than the Dodgers this year. It amounted to $20 million less invested into the player payroll, and you're seeing the difference. Absolutely. If you added $20 million of players to the Giants right now, they would be more competitive with the Dodgers. Now, would they be better? No. Would they be as good? Probably not. But they would be a lot better than they're at right now. A lot. So
someone anonymous says that they're. Wait a minute.
Sorry.
The wrong one. That they're putting. They put the $70 million in the minor league complex in Arizona, which is great. That's a future investment. You shouldn't pull away from the major league club, because the major league club is where everything is falling to. People are, that's where your season ticket holders are.
Okay, anonymous, then hang a flag in center field that says we've got a brand new minor league complex in Arizona, and see how the fans respond to that. If they really think that that's the equivalent, then let them hang their flag that says 70 million on a minor league complex and let people cheer.
That's just partisan. And don't. I said this to somebody the other day.
Are you going Friday night? Oh yeah, hell yeah! It's minor league complex flag night. They're gonna raise the flag in center that said that they spent $70 million on their complex in Arizona. Oh hell yeah! I'm gonna get there for that. Yeah. I'm gonna be in my seat early for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Giants.
Could you imagine if they tried that? That would be awesome. Or they have a flag
we're giving a replica away of the stadium that we built down in Phoenix.
It's crab sandwich flag night. We're going to hang a flag that says for $36.50 you can get a crab sandwich on the mezzanine level.
Yeah. No,
you see how I went old school on the mezzanine?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
The mezzanine. No, I just think that the club
I'll be here all week.
Is as far as Kapler goes. Yeah, somebody said, we act like he didn't play Major League Baseball? Just because you played Major League Baseball doesn't make you fit to be a manager. It's possible that Gabe has his hands tied, and maybe Gabe is not even calling all the shots with the front office giving him instructions on who to play and when who comes up to bat in this situation. But I just don't think the way the Giants are run is a successful way to run an organization that gives you a chance to win a championship going forward, because you're not playing guys regularly. You don't have anybody that can go out there every day and play, except the only one right now is really Crawford, and he's been hurt, but his career is starting to, he's on the back end of his career. He's probably got one more year left. And so where are the guys that you throw out there every day, whether it's you don't even have to look who's pitching. Here's my lineup, 1, 2,
it was
3, 4.
It was really clear when we saw the Braves roll in.
Yes.
And they played the same guys all 3 games.
And even the
Giants
Dodgers in that 4-game series did the same thing.
Giants are, rotating guys through like it's an office picnic. MF donates $4.99. Dwayne Kuiper's call of Benito Santiago's homer in the 2002 NLCS gives me goosebumps. I do remember that. Oh, yeah. Halfway up the bleachers and left, right, I believe the first section down the line. I miss Benny, man. He was a hell of a catcher. Benito.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was great. He was really great when he was with the Padres, though.
Oh, how great was he? Yeah, was a young player with the Padres. Anonymous. I'm agreeing with you, Larry, just saying the way the Giants brass thinks. No, I know. We're just fooling around.
Well, here's a good thought experiment. Honestly, and I'm not a huge Kapler guy, I actually am kind of a Farhan guy. I'm not a huge Kapler guy, but let's just say that you brought the entire roster and farm system of the Los Angeles Dodgers and put it in you just swap teams. Do you think that Kapler would be doing that much worse than whatever they're doing right now? Kapler and those guys, it's not I think they would win just as much as they would do under Dave Roberts.
Isolating and saying it's just the talent. It's not about the decision making at all. I don't, here's the thing. There's two ways to evaluate the manager. There's first pitch to last pitch and last pitch to first pitch. And what I'm talking about is there's the in-game strategic decision making, and then there's the how you bring the team along. And I this year I think Kapler gets a swing and a miss in both categories. I think he's way too wed to very strict lefty righty matchup situations, and they have this belief that if they just play the odds and stay with it, that it will just favor them eventually. But I think there's more to it than that. I think it's more. There's more to managing a baseball game than looking at a spreadsheet and saying, well, lefty righty and this and that. I think there's more to it than that. I think it's about how your players are feeling that day, how they're looking that day. I believe in that. So I think first pitch to last pitch, I think Kapler leaves me wanting. Then there's the other debate, last pitch to first pitch, kind of the tone that your manager sets over the course of the year. And I've been told by a couple different people that the club doesn't work as hard as this year as they did last year. Who's that on? That's on Kapler. I've been told that the coaches suck up to the players and that the players are never wrong. Who's that on? That's on Kapler. I've had people whisper to me that he gets into a lot of political things with his players, and that there's this vibe, if you don't agree with Cap and how he feels about things, that you may be persona non grata. I have no sources on any of these things. I'm just telling you what I've heard from people who claim to be in the know. I don't know that I don't see this team that's super galvanized. I see a team that's looks like they're fracturing. Suddenly, I don't know. You get pitchers speaking out. You get, guys' wives tweeting things. You've got, you just got vibes that are very kind of weird. When he goes to the question and answer, the media sessions that he has, it really sounds like the writers are very tiptoeing around him, like he's going to blow up. They wouldn't just do that. That he must be putting off some kind of agitated, frustrated, vibe that he's going to jump you or something if you don't ask him a question the way he wants it asked. They just seem tight. They seem tight as a drum. They don't seem loose. They seem tight.
Yeah,
so
and
I think he's a double loser this year. I think he's a loser, first pitch to last pitch, and I don't think he's necessarily bringing the team along the way I would like to see the team brought along. So this year, I'm unimpressed. Last year, I think he did everything right.
When you say last pitch to first pitch, are you talking about after the game until the first pitch of the next game?
I'm saying there's the in-game evaluation of what the manager does, and then there's the motivation. How does how the players feel about him?
Over, yeah.
And I think he's double fail. I think he's totally wed to his lefty righty games and makes all kinds of decisions at 3:00 that instead of reading the tea leaves and using his instincts and I think he's making these predetermined decisions hours ahead of time, which I think is bad. And then also I think that the vibe that he sets is one he's tight. He's puckered up. He's nervous about things. He doesn't sound confident. He doesn't sound in control. He sounds like a guy he's worried. He's like King Herod, and he's worried about the minions plotting against him. You know what I mean? What did they say? He's worried about an uprising. I mean, I don't get this vibe from Kapler that he's this tremendous leader that the guys are totally galvanized behind. And then the lefty righty stuff, to death, I think is too much. And I think that ignores a lot of good baseball decisions that are right there in front of your eyes. So I don't know. Romo 2001 says Will Clark never acknowledged Kapler during the ceremony either. Telling. That may be telling. That may be telling.
Yeah, DJ Venus says, look what happened to him in Philly. He got ran out of there to the point where the Philly fans hated him. Well, Philly
was the wrong town for his touchy-feely analytics approach. That's a town that is the gut. You better manage by the gut. What did your gut tell you, Gabe? And he's like, well, my chart said that. Screw your chart. What did your gut tell? Doesn't Philly seem like that kind of a? Yeah. He's not. Yeah. The fact that anybody even hired him there shows what a bunch of fools they are. I mean, you thought that Gabe Kapler and his Tandy 5000 computer printout and his lefty righty matchup games was going to play in a town like Philadelphia? That was never going to play, and I'm surprised it lasted the full 2 years.
He seems like a guy that would be a lot better with a younger team, not team with a lot of aging veterans, because veterans have been around for 10 years plus,
he'd be a great manager he'd be a great AAA manager if you had a ton of talent coming through your system and you wanted them to, do things the right way and be smart and, prepare the right way. I think that he would be good in that kind of hey guys, we're all doing it this way, my way or the highway. I think he'd be good in that kind of where he has total control and you know what I mean? It's not about winning games. I don't know.
I get the feeling that it's we have to remember that last year was so insane. Not even we can talk about luck or whatever, but that season, not only was that 107, most teams that win, close to 107, they're cruising in the they're just having fun. They're loose, and it's just a kind of a relaxing, awesome time. And they're just waiting until the postseason. They had won 107, and they had to win every single one of those freaking games to even, to miss the freaking one-game playoff. So the amount of stress and the amount of buy-in it took from all of those guys in this kind of more difficult thing. I mean, it's hard to just say, well, we after this year, after all that we did, we just kind of didn't do anything, and where our roster is actually just a little bit worse. So, hey, you guys want to do this again? You want to everybody have your best season, and you want to buy into all of this crap where you're getting taken out and whatever and defensive. So it just seems like we're burnt. It seems like this team is burnt out, and they know they don't have it'd be one thing if they had the horses. They know they don't have the horses. And so I feel like because of that, I think that is a big part of it.
They don't have the belief that they're good enough.
Yeah, and baseball
and that's justified because they're not good enough.
Yeah. And baseball is a sport where you have a lot of camaraderie, a lot of joking. My next door neighbor was the manager of the Seattle Mariners for a year and a half, and used to talk.
Who's your next door neighbor?
He's no longer my neighbor now, but because I moved.
Just called him. You just said he's your neighbor.
No, he was my neighbor for 8 years.
Is he your neighbor or is he not your neighbor?
No, I call him my neighbor because he was my
Won't
neighbor.
you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor? Yes. So
was his name Jim Neighbors?
Yeah.
Who was your goddamn neighbor?
Let's see. Move it, Pyle. Yeah, Gomer Pyle was my Jim Neighbors was my.
Who was your damn neighbor?
Sergeant. I was. Who was? What's that? Who's my neighbor? Kermit the Frog.
Is this a tough question?
Who
was your neighbor?
You know what? I'm drawing a blank right now, and I know him really well. You ever do that where you can't think of the name because you're
what's the capital of Idaho?
Boise. Gosh,
yeah, you didn't know your capitals.
I know my neighbor really well, and I could see him.
Neighbor, my good friend, who was my neighbor, used to manage in the big leagues. Who was it? Damn it.
He was and he played for the Astros. He came up with the Astros organization.
Obviously, you guys were as close as me and my neighbor. Justin Kerwin says Kapler was booed so loud he sat next to Bochy, who never said a word to him. Really? I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see if I wasn't checking out the dynamics on Kapler during the. By the way, how great was Will Clark's speech?
Oh, it was unreal.
Can we play a little? Can you give me like 30 seconds of it or something?
Yeah. Why not?
It was incredible.
MF's more than made up for any potential earnings losses.
Danny's being quiet right now. He's looking up his neighbor.
I am. I can't remember. My name is drawing a blank, and
who's my neighbor?
Dave Bristol, Jackie Moore.
No. Oh, there it is, John. Okay, gosh, why couldn't I think of John? Anyway, his name was John McLaren.
John Cocktoson.
John McLaren. Anyway, he was
John McClane.
Calba put it in there. John McLaren.
Die Hard. John McLaren. Okay, John McLaren.
He got fired in 2008, and it was the weird. It was so awful when I didn't see him for weeks. He stayed in his house. He came home, and he was it was his dream job to finally. He got to be the manager in 2007 when the Mariners were like in the pennant race, and Jim Riggleman, who was the manager, just quit at the All-Star break. Never seen anything like it before. The Mariners were on a 8 or 10 game winning streak going into the All-Star break, and Jim Riggleman just quit. So John McLaren got the job for the second half, kept him competitive. Then he got hired for the 2008 season. And
wait a second. Shante Ortega says, I'm at Safeway picking up some New York-style sausage to put on the grill. There you go. Yes. That's what we wanted.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner.
There you go.
But I guess my point on this topic is that baseball players are a loose group. They have a lot of fun, and there's a lot of joking, a lot of pranks. And Kapler just seems like a guy that is so stiff that he doesn't seem like you said, Larry, like a guy that seems to be people want to enjoy being around him. Most guys in baseball, it's just, it's a big club and it's just a lot of camaraderie. And Gabe just seems like maybe I'm reading him wrong, but
he doesn't seem like one of the guys, does he?
He doesn't seem like one of the guys. He just doesn't seem like one of the guys. And I wonder if that wears on people after a while because everything seems so calculated. And when you talk about managing before the game, it's like he's so into the analytics of the game that it's almost like he forgets looking at what his eyes are seeing. Like Belt, I'm 3 for 3 and I've homered, and now I'm going to get pinch hit for. Or I hit one off the wall that night, doubled off the wall in the deep right center, and now a lefty's coming to face Belt, and it's like, oh shoot, I got David Villar over here. I think I'll go with David Villar. I mean, why not just go with the hot hand? The guy's the veteran who's come through in these types of situations. That was one of the points where I felt like it says, you know what? He doesn't have the feel for the game that I don't think any manager in baseball would have done that move except Gabe.
I mean, you got to sell your program. He won 107 last year. I don't know. It's
and it also, it's like, yes, we're pinch hitting for an old Brandon Belt. And yes, at a lot of times, actually, he's our best hitter. But what does that even say? Like, I mean, if he was managing the Dodgers, I guarantee you he's not ever pinch hitting for Freddie Freeman. He's not ever pinch hitting for Mookie Betts. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think that what I'm trying to say is they weren't winning the World Series this year. The roster's not good enough. Players know it. Kapler may try and, go ahead.
I'll just say this about Gabe. I mean, last year things went well, and I was with him on a lot of the moves because even I was calling some of the same moves because they were working all year, and guys were coming through in the clutch. And, as a manager, you can only do so much what your players produce.
Jimmy Mollet says it's awkward. Hey, man, can you spot me? Dude, no, you're wearing jeans. Kevin Healy says, Larry, how's your relationship with your neighbor been since you stopped doing radio? Haven't heard his leaf blower in a while. Well, you know what? We still don't talk. We're like two ships that pass in the night. We smile and we say, it's all right. He hates me and I don't really hate him. I'm kind of stubborn. It's like, I'm not going to be the first one to talk. And, it's just, I really don't have any real animosity at this point. It's just kind of like humorous that we've gone like decades without really talking, and we live next door to each other, and the awkwardness is awesome, and it's just like. I'm just at this point, I don't know how to repair it. I've thought about just going over there with like a peach cobbler and just saying, hey, let's just put an end to this. But that's not me. I'm more comfortable feuding than I am kissing and making up.
Oh, and Dave Roberts, a buddy of mine who's a Dodger fan, he doesn't care for him. And there's someone else in the post.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't like my neighbor.
Dave Roberts has horribly underachieved considering the talent of that team.
Right. DJ over the top says, Larry, why don't you offer him some Italian sausage off your grill?
I think that would be a nice gesture.
Maybe I could bring Pasquale with me one day.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner.
Come on over for dinner.
I think you should, and bake them some cookies.
Should I start barbecuing? I usually barbecue on the back. Should I start barbecuing in the front and like offer them like a bite of something? Hey, would you have one of these sausages? Mercedes, BMW, Porsche. Larry, have your neighbor come over for a completes dinner.
I didn't bring my completes for the props for the shows for the next 2 weeks. I'll have to go down and buy some at the dollar store tomorrow.
I would pay huge money to see a giveaway at Oracle Park of completes, and just the look on people's faces as they're getting completes chicken, completes beef, completes stroganoff. Be awesome.
Spaghetti. Yeah.
Jim Olay donates $20. He says, Shia Milan twist. MF is Larry's neighbor. Oh, that is too good.
So I see
the speech.
There's no way this is the same Trey Lance. Did you see that in the chat there?
What does he say? Trey Lance, just saw your video of me and Brandon. Yes, thank you.
Hey, Trey.
Somebody said completes chorizo. No, I don't. Do they have a completes chorizo?
I don't think. Oh, Jim Mollet. Shyamalan twist. MF is Larry's neighbor.
Oh, that is too funny. Did somebody just donate $200 in the chat, or is that old?
That's old.
Are you sure? It looks like it just popped up.
Wait,
where? At the top?
No. I think it's just staying up because it's so shocking that YouTube is just like.
I think it.
Oh, there we go. That was MF.
Yeah.
That was MF.
Yeah.
Do you want me to play some of the speech?
Yeah, let's hear a little Will Clark. Let's hear a little Will.
So I purposely, this is some random YouTuber who actually filmed this from the game, so I don't think we're going to be receiving any copyright complaints. Oh.
That silhouette in the outfit is awesome.
What is the point?
The silhouette was cool.
I'm going to show his number right now.
I didn't know Kershaw wore 22 for Will.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, heard that yesterday.
Wow. You know, the sad thing I thought about yesterday when he was that whole day with his speech and everything, Giants should have never let him walk in
They paid Robbie Thompson and not him.
That was just ridiculous. I mean, could you imagine Barry and Will playing together for 5
They did,
more years?
1993.
I know, but for 5-6 more years, one season they got.
Thank y'all for sticking with us.
Will never was bad at the end. He was great at the end.
I want to thank the Giants organization. They have been a huge part of my life, and it has been an amazing time. I want to especially thank Larry Bear, Rob Dean, Mario Aliotto, and the current Giants ownership group for bringing on this jersey retirement ceremony. I definitely want to thank my family, Lisa, my daughter Ella, my son Trey. You guys have been my life and my main priority. Thank you, Lisa, for the gorgeous family we have and the life we share. You have been the foundation of our family and holding down the fort while I was on the road. Trey, my man, my hunting, fishing, and baseball buddy. Thank you for all the wonderful memories we've had, and we're going to do even more moving forward. Ella, I'm so proud of you turning into the gorgeous young lady that you are and going to LSU. I really look forward
Was Will Clark an LSU guy?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State, but he's from Louisiana.
But he's from New Orleans.
You have a gorgeous family on your own right, and I thank you for living out all the stuff that Dad taught us. You have been my right-hand man, and I truly appreciate it.
Yay.
There's a few friends here, about 140 from New Orleans and everywhere else. They're all over there somewhere, but I'm going to name off a few names if you don't mind. So, Rob, Steve, Ricky, Tommy, Eric, Little Jude, George, Barry, Buddy, Holly, Brad, Mark, Nydia, Bill, Clark, Mike, LT, Jay, Davis, Phil, Tommy, Louie, and Claude are just a few of the names of the many friends that I've had that have influenced my life.
MF, Mark
Josh,
Graves.
You and I have been best friends since my rookie year, and you do not know how much I value your friendship. I love you to death. You're the big brother I never had, and thank you for your guidance. Eric Burns, thank you so much for leading the charge in getting this jersey retirement ceremony.
Dang, I didn't know that.
That's Burnsy. Yeah, Burnsy and Will do a show on Burns' channel.
Nick J., the answer to that question was Bob Quinn.
You're a guy that took a skinny left-handed hitter from Jesuit High School in New Orleans who stood on top of the plate and bailed and wailed. You backed him off, you closed him up, and you made him use the whole field, which was the biggest and best swing adjustment I ever made and led directly to a college and professional career. Thank you so much for your guidance and patience. Ron Cook was my college coach at Mississippi State for 3 years and taught me the X's and O's of the game. You always knew where you had to be on the field at all times, and my 3 years at Mississippi State were an absolute blast because of that man. Bob Lurie saved the San Francisco Giants.
Former owner of the Giants, great guy.
Yep.
And he was the best owner to play for. Al Rosen was our general manager and the man that gave me my shot in professional baseball. He made me change my swing in mid-career, and it wound up being the best advice I ever got. Roger Craig, the home baby. He was my manager and my dad away from home. He showed me tough love and expected results. Dusty Baker was my hitting instructor for 5 years before he became my manager in '93. Everything we did together just clicked. He trusted me with all the information he threw at me, and he also was instrumental in tightening up that swing you guys see on the board. Willie Mays,
My
Willie
family.
McCovey, Orlando Cepeda, Juan Marichal, and Gaylord Perry. They were our Hall of Famers. They were always willing to help, and when you ask questions, they let you have it. I love it. I thank them for passing the game down to our generation. My teammates, Robbie Thompson. This gentleman and I came up together in 1986, and we shared the right-hand side of the field.
Super underrated player.
Years. He was not only one of the best teammates around because of how talented he was, but also the PR work that he did. As you can tell, I was the one that stepped on toes and got in your face. Robbie was the more political one. You never had to worry about a ground ball or a fly ball being caught in Candlestick when that man was chasing it down.
Yeah, if he didn't have that back injury, he could have been another few more years out of him.
Tremendous player.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The Boogie Bear right there. Kevin Mitchell. Love Kevin Mitchell.
Not only because of how talented he was, because you never knew what he was going to say that was going to make you double over laughing. He was an absolute treat to be around, and I love being in the middle of the order with him. Watching his MVP season in 1989 was an
incredible.
Absolute treat. Hey, Trebecki. When we were on the trip.
Oh, cut off.
There you go. That's all we're getting.
Okay.
That was good stuff, though. That was a good taste of it right there.
Yeah, it was a good taste.
Will, what can you say about Will Clark, man? He's just the guy. The guy should have gone to the Hall of Fame. Will Clark is more of a Hall of Famer than Harold Baines.
That's what I say. Yeah.
Don Mattingly is more of a Hall of Famer than Harold Baines. I'd much rather see guys who were on the top. Who were the best player in the game and then just didn't keep it going long enough because of whatever reason, their body gave out on them or whatever it was. They didn't quite have the longevity. Mattingly was the best player in the American League in 1985. Will Clark was the best player in the National League for a couple of years there. He was at the top. He didn't just accumulate numbers over the course of years. And then Will Clark could have continued playing. His final year with St. Louis, he hit like 325 or 345 or what is some crazy great stat line his final year. He only decided to call it a career so he could go home and spend more time with Trey, who had autism, and he wanted to be home, and he had made some money, and his body was starting to fail him a little bit, and so he gave it up earlier than he should have or than he could have. But some guys hang around and accumulate stats forever.
345 is his final year.
345 and hung it up. Who retires after a year where they hit 345?
Buster Posey, maybe.
I mean, it's like DiMaggio. DiMaggio walked away on top. Will Clark walked away on top. We never really got to see him fail or really slide. So I don't know. I got a special place for Will Clark. And
should have been a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. The only reason Harold Baines got in was because of Tony La Russa was on that Veterans Committee.
Well, no, it's because Reinsdorf is so connected within the game, and Reinsdorf was pushing for him, so that's why. But I mean, and nothing against Harold Baines.
No, Harold Baines was a great player.
Baines was a very good player, but
the reason
he
his
wasn't Will
stats
Clark.
went up because he He played longer. That's all. He just kept playing.
I mean, I'd rather like Dale Murphy should be in the Hall of Fame. Dale Murphy was the best player in the National League in a couple years there in the 80s. This guy was an MVP back to back, I believe, in like 82, 83 or something like that. He was tremendous. He was the best player. What year was Harold Baines the best player? Never. He was never the best player.
Will Clark's worst year with batting average was 283.
Was that 93?
Yeah, that was 93.
Yeah, 93, he struggled. He struggled with Barry Bonds being in that lineup. That was the only downside of 93 is that Will struggled until the final, he came alive in September. He was huge down the stretch. He was the ultimate pressure player.
You know what? Tim Lincecum's kind of a weird one. Like, I wonder if he played nowadays where, they don't let you go deep in games, if he could have had an extended career. Because, in the minors, he was throwing like 100. And then, even his second Cy Young, I think he won his Cy Young his first 2 years.
You talking about 100 pitches, Rye, or a game or 100 miles per hour?
100 miles per hour. He's throwing like 100 miles per hour in the minors. And it seemed like by the end, even his second Cy Young, his third year, he already he was more breaking balls and whatnot. But
tiny guy.
Guys, we've been going for 2.5 hours, so we're gonna do this. It's 11 o'clock. We're gonna play our commercials here. We'll be back with some final thoughts next on the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimilgio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
Welcome back to the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger, Dan Coccimilgio, Ryan Smith coming down the home stretch on a Sunday night. Now, we've done a lot of work today, gentlemen. We went a long time on the Niner live stream, and then we came over here and did the Giant live stream. And thanks to everybody who participated on either live stream. We do appreciate all of the support, all of the donations, all of MF. My God, I don't even know what to say about your donations.
He broke the donation button. YouTube thinks he was like is stolen credit card or something. Hilarious. Also, I looked it up. Tim Lincecum, his first 5 years, he has the only player that has more strikeouts in their first 5 years is Tom Seaver. That's crazy.
Wow. Another crazy stat I heard today that shocked me said that Aaron Judge has 200 homers now and was the second fastest to getting to 200 homers.
Really?
I'm like, he's 30 years old, but he's 30 years old. I would think that, I mean, well, yeah. Or, I mean, I would think at 200 homers, I mean, at the pace.
You might want to check that. You might want to check that.
I read it. Dan, I bet I know what it is. He came into the league, he got in.
He was 24.
Oh, he was 24 when he got to the bigs?
Yeah.
So maybe it's definitely not by age, I'll tell you that, but it might be by first 6 years.
It's by seasons, yeah, but it just
it's at bats probably.
Yeah. So, but it just kind of, I would have thought he had a lot more, you know, because he's been hitting bombs for the last 5-6 years. So,
guys, good stuff tonight, though. Do you guys have a final thought before we head for the door? I mean, the Giants get a split. They send Logan Webb tomorrow night against the Dodgers. Dodgers counter with the lefty Andrew Heaney. I believe the Giants get 4 lefties in this series, so it's Kershaw, Heaney, Urias,
maybe we'll see DH. Maybe we'll see Wins as a DH this week.
Yeah, exactly. Are they going to DH Wins in this lefty-righty matchup?
He did have a nice double today. I'll give him credit. He hit one off the center field wall to knock in 2. So
tomorrow I am on 95.7 The Game at noon with Guru. So check me out. We'll have some of that for you on the channel as well. But check me out at on 95.7 The Game, and of course their YouTube channel as well. Jim Molay chimes in.
What time was that again, Larry?
That's noon to 3 tomorrow. Noon to 3 the next 3 days. And then Jim Molay says, looking forward to some MLB trade talk on the next couple of Krueg shows. Yeah. So we'll be back with you tomorrow night after game 1 of Giants Dodgers. And then of course you can catch me at noon with Guru, and we'll talk a lot, I'm sure, about Bill Russell and Debo and the Niners and the Giants and Will Clark and, you know, all the top sports stories tomorrow at noon on 95.7 The Game. And then tomorrow night we'll have Giants baseball on the channel post game, and we'll break it all down. We'll cover Niner camp all week as well. We'll bring you video.
You going to be there in the morning for 40 before you go on the game, or?
You know, I'm thinking about going in the morning. I'm not sure exactly where Ryan and I have to discuss exactly how we're going to do that, but I believe there'll be 3 days of camp and then no camp on Thursday, and then there will be camp on Friday. So we'll have to figure that out, but we'll definitely be covering it. We'll definitely have a bunch of video for the show. We'll be talking a lot of 49ers, and obviously between now and really going all the way through the season, we're going to be all over 49er football. Couple other ones here. Jim Olay been filling in the past couple of weeks. That's right. I've been filling in the last couple of weeks on 95.7 The Game. DJ Over the Top says, become a Krueg Show member. Cheaper than a gallon of gas. Support Krueger, not the Kremlin. Or it says the Kremlin, but I'm pretty sure he means the Kremlin. He could be saying the Kremlin. Dan, do you have a Kermit the Frog voice for us?
Kermit the Frog here.
Tim Ryan coming on soon.
We're going to have a really big show tomorrow night.
Timmy is coming on. I don't know if he's coming on soon, but he's coming on for sure. GTC Reels, KMBR done fucked up. That's why. All right, there you go. Well, I appreciate that. Let's see. What else? Anything you guys want to add before we bolt for the door?
I was Aaron Judge cleanup. So in 2016, he was 24. He hit 4 home runs. He only had 90. He only played in 27 games. His first year was 25. And, I was thinking of Ryan Howard, maybe another one. That's what somebody said in the chat. Because he came in at 26. So, just for reference, Judge really started playing at 25 years old. Ken Griffey, by the time he was 25 years old, already had 190 home runs. So
you think Joey Bart might have 200 home runs by the time he's after 5-6 seasons in the league? He's 24, right? Next year he'll be 25, and he'll have a little bit of better taste of what the league.
He's got power. I don't know about the number though. He didn't hit any last year.
If he hit 100 home runs in the next 4 years, it would be awesome.
MF says, you guys traveling to Minnesota? We're going to Mankato for camp practices. We'll have to see if that's in the budget. Maybe you can fly us out.
My brother used to practice in Mankato with the Vikings.
Sadly, that's where Corey Stringer died. Remember a number of years ago from heat stroke, the big offensive lineman for the former Buckeye. Very sad. Okay, here we go. We're going to finish with a request.
Yes.
This is one from where is it? Here it is.
Guitar?
No, Nick J says, do a monster slam call in your Kermit the Frog voice.
I could try that. But before my one final thought, I did want to thank Farhan. I kind of been on the Giants, but I got to give him credit for getting Manny Machado today.
Manny Machado. Dude, they got Machado. Maybe should I start with that tomorrow on 95.7 The Game? Guru. Dude, did you see the Giants traded for Machado? They got Machado.
Yes.
When I first saw it, I saw Machado. I was like, no way. They're talking about Machado. They got Machado.
Machado is a Giant, and Farhan made it happen.
Yeah, so
that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
We want to do a Kermit the Slam.
Monster Slam in the Kermit the Frog voice.
Right. Curry has the ball, dribbles over half-court line. He moves in over to the left side, kicks it out to Wiggins over on the right. Wiggins drives lane, goes in for a monster slam!
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.